Let's see. Hello. Let me try and get situated. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me turn my phone down. Turn that down. And of course, it's StreamYard, so there is a delay. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay. Can you all hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Um, okay, perfect. Okay, cool. How is everyone? I see Isis, one, Isis, Osiris, Sleepy Bee, Journey with Karen, Starry Eyed. Hey, my darling. Yeah. Okay. So just FYI, this is not a live about readings. I'm not doing any type of readings on this. I just literally wanted to have a discussion about some things, particularly the little, let me not call it the Titan mini sub tragedy, right? Um, I just kind of want to talk about that from a spiritual, cosmic perspective, right? Because, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. Nyla asked me, a couple other people asked me if I was going to speak on it or read on it. And I don't want to read on it because for me, I don't need to. Hopefully, you don't hear my dog like shaking in the background. She's downstairs, but the sound carries upstairs from downstairs. But yeah, so I don't want to read on it because, like, for me, like the information brought forth in the news cycles is enough for me. And I'm not really going to go into quote unquote the dead, trying, doing all of that. But, even without a reading, I still, like I said, want to talk about the spiritual aspects of some things, like I said, this situation and just some other things that I kind of wanted to touch on. So, hey, Donna. Hey, Miss Asha. Hey, Kev. So, um, and I don't have any slides or anything like that. This isn't like a PowerPoint presentation. Like I said, it's just talking about it. So, last week started with the Titan tragedy, right? It was either last week or the week before. I was talking to Mr. Hoodoo, and I was explaining to him, you know, kind of the behind the scenes of why this happened from a spiritual aspect. And I was talking to Nyla about it too. And let me kind of pull up my messages, the conversation Nyla and I were having. So, and this is going to kind of an astrology perspective, right? Now, I am not an astrologer. I have not studied astrology to the depths of which, that are similar to how I study my magical craft, right? My tarot craft. But there is enough there, that we can have a conversation about it, right? So, and I also kind of wanted to give this situation the spiritual respect as far as, for the deceased and their families. I didn't want to kind of, jump into that like that because, right is right, wrong is wrong, but I'm still not going to, it's still fresh, right? Their spirits are still, it's still early, right? It's still early on the situation. So, it's still early on the situation. So this it didn't have to be. This didn't have to be, but it happened. And like I said, I'm gonna go into that and then kind of tie it into other things, where we are in the world, with other spiritual things going on. So Saturn and Pisces energy. It was their time to go, Donna. It was their time to go. But at the same time, it didn't have to be, but this had to happen, right? A tragedy of some sort had to happen because this energy, especially when we're dealing with the energies of boundaries, the energies of restrictions, the energies of you should plan better, the energies of time, including the energies of death, the energies of kind of realizing that, you know, this probably isn't the best thing to do, the restrictions. And then we have the energies of the ethereal, the energies of illusions, the energies of the dream state, the energies of fantasy, the energies of crossing over and being in between worlds, the energies of water, of ocean, right? Yeah, energies of not heeding warning. So when we have planets, Saturn is all of these restrictions. It's the planet of sometimes death, it's time, it's, you know, boundaries, all of these different things. That earthy energy where you really should be grounded, you really should be paying attention to things. You really should be doing better, right? And I don't, some of you may or may not know Saturn, right? If you're on my Patreon, I kind of describe, the energies of the planets, right? Saturn, going back to like the Titan Chronos, time, right? Saturn is called the Great Malefic when it comes to the seven classical planets. Saturn is where we get the figure of the Grim Reaper, right? Right. Um, so Saturn and Pisces energy is really a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call. Think of it like, you know, say for example, you're at the club and everything is all cool in the club, it's dark in the club, it's hazy in the club, everyone is having a good time, they're high on life, drinks, friends, dancing, all that stuff here in the club. It looks fine, right? Then you flip on the light switch. That person you thought was cute is not cute. You're just like, where the hell am I? This place is a dump. Why am I even here? This is not okay. That's what Saturn and Pisces energy is really doing. And right, and that comes from, Kev says it's also considered Satan's planet as well. That comes from Capricorn, the goats, right? The goat animal of Capricorn being tied to Saturn, right? Because make no mistake about it, people do not like boundaries. They don't like restrictions. They don't like being told no. And that is the biggest situation that happened with this sub. That's the biggest situation that happened with this sub. That gentleman, the CEO, whomever he is, did not want to hear no. He wanting to push past the warnings. This isn't safe. We don't have good communication. He wanted to push past all of that. The signs were there. He wanted to push past all of that, whoever it was. And I'm not trying to get into the absolute specifics. Whoever it was that signed off on this, they had the power to overrule what the scientists, the engineers, the structural engineers were saying. This ain't a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. The warnings were there. The information was there. He could have planned better. He could have did more. No, he wanted to push past the restrictions. He wanted to push past the restrictions, the boundaries, the rules, the things that are really there to kind of keep things the way that they should be. Like I said, a lot of people don't like Saturn energy because they don't like being told no. They don't like being told wait. They don't like having boundaries that they have to stay in. Everything should not be trying to color outside the lines. Saturn in Pisces, that's exactly what it was. Logic, reason. So his head in the clouds, his full on rejection of the boundaries, the reasoning, the logic, the maybe this isn't a good idea, the what could go wrong, in full on Neptunian space, because Pisces is a sign that is ruled by the planet Neptune, water, right? Think about Poseidon. This was a clear case of not only fuck around and find out, but all the information is being brought to light. Is being brought to light. Okay? This is pure Saturn and Pisces energy. And with regard to, and I'm going to, start to transition into, some of my next points, and some of you are already touching on it. Saturn and Pisces energy, right? Because Saturn, the planet, takes, what is it, 28, 29 years to do a complete pass through all the signs, right? Saturn is a generational planet, right? That's why a lot of people have issues in their lives, that 28th year, 29th year, 30th year, that Saturn return be out here whooping people ass, right? Because it's a point of transition, right? It's a point of transition, things that you really should be dealing with. So, this had to happen because, and I don't know if you all have noticed, I don't know how many people are paying attention to the world news, what happens in the world. We're entering a period, right? And Saturn is only going to be in Pisces. It won't be in Pisces long, right? Saturn won't be in Pisces long. Saturn enter Pisces March this year. We'll stay there until May 2025, and then we'll make a return in September 2025 to 2026, right? So 2 to 4 years in a sign, depending on how things go. But I say that to say these generational planets, they come and they shake up a lot of things. They're generational. They're not necessarily personal planets. They're generational and they come to shake things up. And it's not that Saturn brings nothing good, Donna. Like I said, people don't like rules. People don't like regulations. People don't being like, they don't like being told what to do. I bet you the families of those people would have liked it if the proper precautions and structural design and materials were used, right? I bet you, if people would have listened, I bet you it would have been better. So don't demonize Saturn. Do not demonize Saturn, because people, you have to learn from the bullshit mistakes. And like I said, people don't want to be held accountable. We talk about accountability. People don't want to be held accountable. People don't want to follow the rules. People don't understand the boundaries. People don't understand planning. People don't understand logic. They people reject so many different things for their fantasies, which is the Piscean energy, right? So this had to happen. And personally, I think that on a spiritual level, more and more things, this energy is going to reveal a lot, because Saturn is literally going to be flipping on the lights to a lot of different things, right? It's going to be flipping on lights on a lot of different things. And we're kind of getting to the point where, the energy is going to be mixing in with the Plutonian energy, right? And the Plutonian energy of revolution, right? Revolution. So, like I said, I don't know how many people pay attention to world news. I don't watch local Atlanta news. I kind of read a lot of world news that's happening. I go to Reddit and read a lot of what's happening. Yeah, there's a lot of situations coming to light, right? For example, and I don't know if I'll be able to keep this video up or not, but I don't know if people have paid attention to the issues going on with that very, very large Asian country that's at war right now. I don't know if y'all recently saw, or heard about the mercenary group that country had been using to not only, deal in stuff on the continent of Africa, but go through Ukraine. The revelations that Russian country isn't as strong as it makes out to be, showing the true weakness of that country's leader. Yeah, I don't know if y'all paying attention. If y'all are paying attention to the revelations, the walls being removed, the secrets being revealed, because Pisces is also, Pisces got a little bit of Plutonian energy too. Right? I'm a Pisces sun. And that's where we start getting into some of the hidden, right? The secretive. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. A lot of stuff coming to light. A lot of stuff coming to light. A lot of stuff coming to light. A lot of it probably, especially that Pluto in Aquarius energy. Uh-huh. Yeah. Pluto is a planet of destruction, baby. The planet of destruction, but destruction in the sense of not of war, but more in the sense of this shit needs to be torn down so that new systems new ideologies, new societies, new, large scale things can come into play. And Pluto, you know, Pluto entered into Aquarius in March as well. March is a transitional planet. We're going from winter to spring, right? Pluto is all about tearing shit down for that transformation that needs to happen. That needs to happen. Needs to. Pluto is another one of those signs, like I said, that it's a generational planet, right? So these generational planets are revealing things, tearing things up so that people can really, really see, right? See what's truly going on so that change can come. So that change can come, right? Change can come. Some of it's going to be, like I said, just transitioning from Saturn and Pisces to the Pluto energy. Some of it's going to be governmental levels, corporation levels. Um, yeah, yeah. And, Pluto is retrograding back into Capricorn. So, Capricorn, Saturnian energy, right? The structures, the rules, the boundaries. I really, like I said, I really want people to understand that some of the things that are happening has to happen. Some of the things have to happen. Have to happen. But yeah, Titan, hmm absolute Saturn and Pisces energy. So it was a tragedy, yes, because it shouldn't have happened, right? That didn't need to happen. It did not need to happen. At the same time, it's just one more thing that's really being put on display so that people kind of see that some of the things we have done as a world society is not a good look and change has to come. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? I am talking about, and a couple of people mentioned it in the chat. I am talking about the problem that we have to, and we as quote unquote normies, we as regular people have to understand our place in creating this, right? The praise, the sucking up to, the propping up of people with egos, billionaires, and I'm not talking about all billionaires because there are some billionaires who are just out here just minding their business. But, and even tying that to money, right? People always say like money is the root of all evil. No, money is a tool, right? It's a tool. Worship of it is something else. This worship of other humans, this worship of money, the way that we have propped people with extreme amounts of money up and see them as some god that they can't do no wrong or whatever. These same people who use their tool, right, their excess of money, to harm other people, to tear up the planet, who do things for greed, yeah, part of that is on us. Part of that is on us. Part of that is on us. The just because you may have money, such and such, doesn't mean that you should get away with crimes, with things that are criminal, with the harm that's being done um, to other people, to animals, to the planet, because you can't. Part of that is our fault. Part of that is our fault. And we have to see it for what it is. We have to see it for what it is. We have to see it for what it is. Right? Just worshiping people and just believing they could do no wrong because they have money. It's not right. But like I said, we did that. So we have to take, like I said, we have to take a look at ourselves and really think about what's important, you know, for society, right? We have to see what's important because, and here's the thing, sadly, and I don't know when the change is going to come, but I kind of feel like things are starting to change now. Um, if we're looking at and seeing how, and again, there's nothing wrong with truly, you worked for, you created your business, you worked for it. And I'm not saying that you have to give all your money to charity. I'm not saying that at all. But there's a difference in thinking that you can do whatever you want and harm others and animals and people on this planet because you have money. You are no better than anyone else. So all these people out here, talking about, and we've seen these revolutions, right? Who was it? The French chick? I'm not a historian. What she tell them? Let them eat cake. People out here starving, but they over here all good. What was that, French Revolution? Good USA, bad USA. Revolution, revolutions, revolutions. Yeah, I mean, I hear you, Donna, and try not to go to the extreme negative with it because but make no sense about it. Revolution is coming. What it's going to look like is going to be different. Yeah, Marie Antoinette, like I said, I don't, but make no mistake about it. Revolution is going to come. What is it going to look like? It's going to be a different story. It's going to be a different story. It's going to be a different story. I don't know if y'all saw it or not. The things happening in France right now. Some protesters ran up in the mayor's house and set their house on fire. Set the house on fire and was coming for that ass. Set the house on fire and is coming for that ass. Your homeboy, like I said, I don't know if this video is gonna be able to stay up. Your homeboy over there, in Asia, dude just brought his army to roll up on the Capitol. Like, what's up? Dude rolled up on his own country with his army. Like, what's up? Right, right. And I hear you, Donna. Revolution. Certain systems, certain ways of life have to change because a lot of things is a house of cards And now we're finally seeing how things are true houses of cards, right? The systems have to change. The systems have to change. Revolution. The light switch has been flipped on. The light switch has been flipped on to a lot of things. Like I said, revolution is coming, change is coming. To what extent? Is it going to be pure reformation? Is it just going to be small change? I don't know. But change is going to come. Make no mistake about it. I don't know if y'all, pay attention to the financial markets, right? This new Fed thing, this Fed monetary system, that's coming out. Um, Make sure y'all are paying attention to things. Make sure you all are paying attention to things.
Have you ever seen a new...
So, a lot of what's going on is indeed has to happen. And it's spiritual. Yeah, make sure y'all are, looking into Fed now. Fed now, CBDC. I mean, I hear you, Isis. The thing about it is, people don't like change. But change has to happen, right? People don't like change. That's that Saturnian energy. People don't like change. A lot of people like walking around with their heads, the wool over their eyes or their heads in the sand. Exactly. Yeah, Kev said Fed now is basically here. Yeah. Looking into the change is coming. Change is coming, whether you like it or not. Question is, how are things going to change? New systems, everything like that. So I say all this to say, the foolery, including, you know, the Titan sub, and it's me personally, those people should not have had to lose their lives. At the same time, these energies are out here like, you know better. You should be doing better. There's no help now. Hey, Coruscant. So, I really, really, really hope people are paying attention. I'm not out here, spraying doom and gloom. Like I said, I just want people to understand that situation had to happen. Things are changing. But yeah, the wool is definitely being removed from a lot of people's eyes, right? Like I said, there are so many ecosystems. And I don't know if you all remember, right? What I did, the great reset, my great reset reading. The full video is on my Patreon, but remember I was talking about, the change is going to come, in the form of the structures, you know, looking into the technologies, the intelligences, things like that. Mhm. Yep. The information. Yep. No, this is something different. Cafe all out. Yeah. This is a new one, I think. I'm not quite 100% sure on that, but I remember about raising the retirement age. But again, changes to a system affecting a society of people. And they like, nah, I'm good. But the infighting now is because there was a teenager who was unalived by the police there. So that's really why there's a lot of fighting going on right now. Because, that teenager was unalive and they not having it over there. So yeah. Oh, they gonna get rowdy over there. And I'm here for it. But yeah, like, you know, oh, that's where I was going to it. Also, with the changes coming, I think there may be some type of changes to um like I said, the things that we use, the tools going to that mercurial energy, the social medias. I don't know if you all pay attention or understand what has just happened with Twitter and another one, Elon Musk, right? Another megalomaniac, ego-driven person, right? Controlled. Yeah, just pay attention to things because we are in a spiritual age and spiritual time. Well, the changes are coming, and I know people don't like it. But again, like I said, and even down to, like I said, societal level of full on blind support of rich people just because they're rich. Like I said, we did that. We did that. And these systems are just like, no. These spirits are just like, no, 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 because it's not good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, I hear you, Donna. At the same time, I don't know. And see, Donna, you're young, but I remember the things happening in the Middle East around 2011, 2012, right? Those uprisings in the Middle East. I remember that because I was on Twitter, seeing it live and in living color. There's also an issue when world news and things that are truly happening to people can't be properly disseminated. This is also a way of censoring, right? And like I said, it's going to be real interesting to see how social media is going to be either limited or the popular ones die off and new ones rise or, whatever, whatever, whatever. Exactly. Exactly. But like I said, I remember like I said, things happening and because I've been on Twitter since 2009. So I remember what was happening in 2011, 2012, when you are hearing from people who, it's really their first time being able to share their voices with the world so that the world can truly see what's happening in other parts of the world instead of the pretty picture that likes to be painted. Yeah. Mhm. So the door can swing either way. But again, make no mistake about it, change is coming. Change is coming, right? Mhm. 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 Change is coming. Yeah, sorry I said, but enough people will know, I feel. I think people will prefer to keep those freedoms. Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people do. Yeah, it has to change. And like I said, I know someone was saying, that they just feel like a lot of doom, impending doom, but it's the changing of things. We live a certain type of way. A lot of people don't like change, and I understand because if you're not controlling the change, right, how is the change that's going to come really, really affect you as a person and the people that you love and care about, right? So I get it. I completely get it. But the one thing that is constant is change from one state of things to another. Like I said, we've had some changes, society wise that have, changed things and governments and created things, destroyed things. Something new is going to always spring up, a lot of those monarchies or whatnot. And there are still some, left in the world, but it's not. we've gone from a lot of places have gone from, feudal societies to quote unquote, um, we're going to call them democratic societies, things like that. Um, Change is going to come. Yeah, I don't know how the door is going to swing either, Starry. I don't know. I don't know. But like I said, just understand there may be some things, we just have to watch and see. But please do not be out here doing things you probably shouldn't be doing, not heeding warnings, not really checking things. I know some people do not like rules. I know some people do not like being told what to do. And make no mistake about it, I am one of the biggest don't tell me what to do people ever. Like, I'm going to do what I want. Right? I'm one of those biggest people. Like, I secretly have and that's part of my Plutonian energy, because I have some Pluto placements that really present a side of me that people will never know, right? The side of me that rebels, the side of me that, oh, watch me do it, right? Y'all don't know me like that. But I have that. It's fair, right? The, oh, try me and watch and see what happens. Like, I have that, right? And that's why, I recognize, a lot of this energy for what it is. Like I said, I'm very rebellious. I like to, let me push the envelope and see what's gonna happen. Let me see. Like, I run many social experiments in my life all the time because I want to see what's gonna happen. I try to see how I can, not game the system, but see what happens, right? Like I said, that's part of who I am, right? At the same time, I also understand that some things are there for the goodness and the benefit of others. Do I like going 60 on the expressway? No. But Q flies around Atlanta. I cruise at 80. It just is what it is. I have places to go and I don't have time to wait. So, I say that to say, during this time period, make sure you're getting your stuff together. Make sure you're getting your stuff together. Make sure you understand that with things changing, you want to make sure that you are doing all the right that you can, meaning you do what's right as much as possible. Do what's right as much as possible, and prepare yourself as much as possible for potential changes. Right? Being truly upended, being truly uprooted, having to move, or realizing that, like, yeah, you may have been living at a place for such and such years because you're comfortable here, but in reality you probably should move because it's not the best place for you anymore because you're comfortable, right? The goodness, the newness, the changes can't come, when we're. So all these energies that are coming in to shake up things, it's for the best. Yeah, yeah, and some of that, it's funny that Donna mentioned that, I'm not going to call them by, the letters. I'm going to say the oh goodness, the ligta, yeah, ligta, yeah, the ligta. All the issues going on in that, I thought I would never see that. There's issues going on with ligta, right? The ligtas are fighting so many things that were once deemed okay are no longer okay. The light switch has been turned on. The lights have been turned on. And I'm not out here for the harm of people. Um, and y'all know my disclaimers, but things are truly, truly interesting. The changes are coming. The changes are coming. So yeah, I didn't want to hold you all too long. Like I said, just talking about things, what happened with the little mini sub and the energies overall, right? But be sure to read, see what's going on in the world, see how change may come to you, right? Yeah, adapt. And it's so funny, it's funny, like I'm seeing Donna's messages here. And I think it's so funny because there are so many people who have said and thought for the longest that quote unquote Canada is the better, safer country. I think right now we're really seeing a lot of, or we're finding out a lot of things that happen in Canada and, like I said, and around the world because, there are people who are, pro United States, I mean, I'm a US citizen, my people have been here, when you're from a place, I completely get it. But there are some Americans who are just like, "Oh, I'm just going to get up and I'm going to go to another country." Sure, cool. Go right ahead and do so. If you get out here and you truly read, it should happen in every country. That isn't for the best, right? There should happen in every country. Every country. Hey, liberated soul rebel. Hey, how are you? Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, liberated soul rebel. Yes, we have connected on Taz's channel. I have enjoyed chatting with you. Taz's chat be lit. But yeah, you're always welcome here. Welcome here. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, Donna. Like, the whole I'm gonna go to such and such country, I'm gonna go to such and such country. Listen, you can even look like some of the people from other countries, and you're still not going to be accepted there. You're still not going to be accepted there. You're not. You're not. So you're just not. Even some people who are, let's say, Chinese American, they're born here in the US, they go to China, they're not accepted as Chinese in China, even though they look like, what I'm saying? So don't just think that it's just white, black. I really encourage people to go out and just really, really read. Really, really read and see what's going on. So I say all that to say, like, I say all of that to say that, a lot the wool is being removed. The wool over people's eyes is being removed. It really is. The wool is being removed. Like the racism issues in countries, the financial issues in countries, the backhanded deals, the the warring, make no mistake about it. The wool is being removed. The wool over people's eyes is really being removed. And I think now more than ever, people are really seeing just how much global society is really just a house of cards. It's like Jenga up in here. It's red. Things are ready to topple over at any moment. So, like I said, no one likes change. A lot of people do not like change. We like to sit in our complacency and, don't cause too much commotion, but the commotion is being brought to us. Yeah. I mean, it really depends, Kevin. Because like I said, I truly, truly, and I know that, no social media platform is 100% honest. I know that. I've really learned a lot of things from people on Reddit as far as like how countries view the United States, how some countries view the United States, how some people view their own countries, how, things are terrible. Like the UK has a housing problem. The UK has a housing problem. There is a housing problem in the UK. But some people just automatically think that, oh, because foreign country automatically better. No, there's a housing issue going on over there. Complete housing issue going on over there. Hey, Black Obsidian. Yeah, I adore Reddit too. And you have your disruptors, you have your bots over there, you have your, undercover misogynists, racists, all like that over there on Reddit. People are going to be people everywhere, especially where you can't see them, right? But it truly is eye opening. It truly is eye opening to see what's going on in the rest of the world. So if people are out here saying that they're going to, oh, I'm going to move to such and such, that's fine, baby. But just understand these other countries are not the United States. You get there, you are an outsider, and you probably need a fixer, right? You probably need a fixer. Yeah, people are fed up everywhere, and that's that. Like I said, we're on the edge of revolution and change. We're on the edge of that. We're on the edge of that, and like I said, Pluto is one of those. Pluto will spend anywhere between 10 to 31 years in a sign. Pluto is out here. Pluto is a game changer. So things aren't going to happen like right now, next month, maybe over the next 5 years, maybe over the next 10 years, 20 years. The societal level changes that need to happen. Oh, they're coming. So yeah, it's things happening everywhere, and that's why I said like the revolutionary changes are coming because, like I said, housing issues, medical issues, governmental issues, the treatment of people. These are things that are happening everywhere, everywhere. And so just like you know that person that continues to come over in Taz's chat and talk big shit, but lives in another country, he better sit down and be quiet and eat his food because he over there in another country, honey. They will tear his ass up because he's not. You know what I'm saying? He's not one of them. Yeah, yeah. Like yeah, and I hear you, Kev. Like you're not there. You're not them. Mm mm. You are not a Mexican. And that's people everywhere. That's worldwide. That's not white, black. It's cultural. And are you from this place? Are you one of these people? Because I've even had, times when, Mr. Hoodoo is cruising, right? So times when we would go to St. Croix and he was born there, raised there. His mom born there, raised there. His people are there. That's where he's from. Like the Virgin Islands is Mr. Hoodoo's ancestral home, right? Mr. Hoodoo is cruising. He's an American because that's a USA territory. But there have been times because Mr. Hoodoo doesn't have an accent, we go to St. Croix and he's talking to someone without the Crucian accent, and people there will try to, um, not treat us right, or we won't get good service or whatever until he has to tell his people about themselves and give them some of that verbal act right. And then, so this isn't a white thing, it's a black thing. It's the are you our people? Are you from here? But yeah, like I said, make no mistake about it. Don't just think you're finna go to some other country and just, oh, I'm here now. And mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. They tolerate you for your money. But that's some of any place though. That's some of any place. That's any place. But like I said, good thing, like I said, that's where Mr. Hoodoo is from. So you can't tell him no BS about his homeland. So yeah, in most places you need a fixer. Like some of my friends, they went to Jamaica a couple weeks ago, last month in June. And one of my friends, she's Jamaican. And whatnot. They went to the resort or whatever, but because she's Jamaican and my other friends went with her, quote unquote, she was the fixer. Same thing like when Mr. Hoodoo used to travel, when he used to work for the federal government, and he used to travel. When he was in, oh, I remember he visited Kenya, right? Mr. Hoodoo went to Kenya, and he had to have a local fixer. Had to have a local fixer, right? Because we're black, right? And Mr. Hoodoo is dark skinned. Not that all, black Africans are dark skinned, but Mr. Hoodoo is dark skinned. He has to have a fixer. Same thing when Mr. Hoodoo used to work in the Middle East, in Iraq, in Kuwait, in Afghanistan. He had to have a fixer being over there. So, and it's so funny. It's so funny that you mentioned that in the conversation that you're having, Kevin and Donna, because when Mr. Hoodoo used to work overseas, right, in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and he would be like, "Yeah, I'm married," and they would ask him to see a picture of me, and he would show them. They were shocked that I didn't look like, quote unquote, a hood rat. Right? They were shocked that I looked, quote unquote, normal. I did not have the hood rat look. They were absolutely shocked. So yeah. But yeah, like I was saying, make no mistake about it that things are changing. And a lot of things don't have to be, but they are, and they will be because spirit deems it so that we can begin to move forward with change. Yeah. Oh no, it's absolutely true, Kev. Absolutely true. They expected me to look like a hood rat. And I hate even saying that, but y'all know what I'm talking about. They thought I would look like an unwoman, a hood rat. Oh yeah, Donna. And make no mistake about it, these images, this trash shit gets around the world. And people around the world see these things. See these trash images. So I know we like to say it's not me and all like this, but the trash images are what's being put out there. Hey Nyla Boo. Hey Nyla Boo. But yeah, like I said, make no mistake about it. These things are happening because things are going to change on grand scale. And just know that the house of cards, if the house of cards, whether it's destroyed and rebuilt or some of it is replaced, it has to happen. And like I said, we're seeing a lot of societal change is starting to move, especially from the celebrity worship. Especially from that, the celebrity and the millionaire, billionaire worship just because they have money, because a lot of these people are not good people. And I think that that ship has sailed. Sleepy Bee says, I've always been opposed to change, but as I've gotten older, I embrace it. Yeah, you have to. You have to. Yeah, you have to. You have to. We all have to be willing um, to change and enter new territory that we're probably not comfortable with. Yeah, I know a lot of them aren't even rich. They just fake it. That's what Black Obsidian says. But at the same time, like when you have people like Musk, Bezos, all these people, all the, these companies doing things, head by the, those, I'm not talking about the fake people. I'm talking about people who have real money doing things. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And like I said, again, we have ourselves to blame because we went along with it. I know people don't like to hear that. Every time I mention accountability on my channel, people downvote my videos and they don't like it and they subscribe and all that is unsubscribe and all that shit. All that shit is fine. The fact of the matter is, we as a society have allowed some shit to go on for too long. Yeah, I ain't talking about the fake people down here in Atlanta, Black Obsidian. Because make no mistake about it, like Mr. Hoodoo and I, we were talking about this. Like we're going to leave Atlanta before this year is out because it's just the energy here is just it's some fake, fake BS here. And I know it's like that in a lot of different places, but a lot of Black society here in Atlanta has become a cesspool, and we don't even want to deal with it. It just is what it is. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to deal with the BS. We don't want to deal with it. So we're getting out of here. We are leaving as soon as possible. We are leaving. So, like I said, I wanted to come and, kind of speak on things. And I know we kind of went here and there with various topics, but the core message remains the same. Yeah, the core message remains the same. And just be ready for change, and just know that things that happen have to happen. Know the things that happen have to happen. So let's see, what are y'all talking about? Yeah, it really is about imagery. And I think that is starting to, even that is starting to change on some level. But I think, as it pertains to Black people, there's still a little bit of time to go with that as far as change and true change, because we've just gone through some mini cycles and some things have kind of come full circle over the past 2 to 5 years with certain things as far as some Black people's messages on social media. So that's interesting to see. Yeah, change is definitely needed. Kev, it really is. And like I said, a lot of people don't like change because they have to start over, start new, and face the fact that they're either able to start over, start new, or they don't have the skills to start over and start new. A lot of people are just complacent. Complacent, yeah. So I don't know if I should drop the link or not. To see if anyone has anything to say. I don't even know who all is here. But yeah, so let me see if my StreamYard is working. If anyone, I'll probably give people just a couple minutes if people want to come up and say something. Hey, Nyla. I do want to hear what Nyla, I don't know how long Nyla has been here. No, but I do want to, let me send this to Nyla and see if Nyla has something to say. Nyla, I'm about to send you the StreamYard link. And see if there's something that you want to add to that. Absolutely. And this right here, this is the crux of what I was saying. Thank you so much, Liberated Soul Rebel, because you hit it right here. Change is scary, but it's mandatory when your foundation is poorly constructed. Y'all, this is a whole spiritual word. Because, and when we're talking about the Plutonian energies of change, of revolution, things like that, it's because the current shit is terribly constructed. It's terrible. It's terrible. When your foundation is poorly constructed, the house of course people are afraid. They don't want the house of cards to move. But guess what? Poor ass foundation. Uh-uh. Like Liberated Soul Rebel, you really hit the nail on the head. And that's what I think you articulated that better than I did. You know, this is a lot of reasons why people are afraid of change. Like I said, especially when, they may not have the skill sets, or they've been riding along, on the fumes and can't prepare for change, can't move forward with change. Absolutely. But a lot of our society is like that. And shit has to change. This poor construction that we have going on globally, worldwide, all this shit has to change. And I was talking to Mr. Hoodoo about this too. I think it was last week or the week before last. I forgot where we were. But we were talking about how, when we're talking about global warming and, your carbon footprint and things like that, the countries, the manufacturers, these large companies are passing the accountability factor of what's happening to the planet to the consumer instead of changing we don't own no factories. How many of y'all own a factory? How many of y'all own a factory? I don't own a factory. How many of you own like a power plant, or like, these companies, these billionaires, these people, and like I said, it's no shade to people who truly made their money the good, honest way. They're really trying to help people. But come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on. Come on, y'all. Things can change if change is really right. Things can change if they want to change. If y'all do your research and look in the 70s, the okay, Nali, I'm about to bring you up. Yeah, the CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, um, the world got together to fix that. The world did. But now people don't want to because it cuts into profit. So yeah. Hey girl, la la. Hey girl. Hold on, let me because I had moved stuff out of the way because I was been cleaning and stuff all day. How are you? I'm good, boo. How are you?
I am good. Good stream. I feel extremely spoiled because I got a preview before everyone else. And I was like, nah, but like it was really on point. It made a lot of sense. It really has me, well, you have me looking more into the astrology than I've ever attempted to do. The more you think you know about that subject, it is so much more complex than I ever imagined. Like I never thought that it was so in alignment with like historical events and things that are happening, in society or whatever. And I feel like that's one of those things that you can like literally learn over that you'll consistently, completely, having to keep engaging and learning. Like I don't think you could ever get that down pat, or at least just from it's very overwhelming now.
Yeah. And even myself, like I had to go and kind of look and see, like, were there any other types of waterborne disasters the last time Saturn was in Pisces? And absolutely, I found one.
Mm-hmm.
I found one. It was the sinking of the MS Estonia ship that sank last time Saturn was in Pisces in September 1994
Okay.
because um they overloaded that ship. And it's not funny, but the ship was overloaded
Mm-hmm.
and hit with a wave, and it started tilting, or the correct word that they use in maritime culture is listing. The ship started to list. Yeah.
Yeah.
A metallic
I
bang
honestly I wanted
came
to do something about I wanted to do something on it because I also think that there possibly was a ritual performed as well.
up.
I don't know if you covered any of that, so I'm going to do a little bit of that.
Oh, that
Probably
sounds
early this week. I might do that actually tomorrow
okay. That
since you
sounds
already
good.
picked it off. But what I was talking about in the chat, and you can give her the link if you want to. I don't care. But let me tell you something, Donna. I see through you. I see exactly what you're doing. You started it yesterday, and for a long time, I was giving you the benefit of the doubt just because you're younger and stuff like that. But I see what you're doing. You're gaslighting. You definitely have been. All you do is talk shit about American people, American Black women, and for you to sit up here and act like there's some overall image of Black women in other countries is straight up bullshit, because I've been to several. And if there is no stigma that needs to be removed from a woman, like Jamaican women who have a stigma levied against them because of dirty wine and stuff like that, girl, please, like, you cannot gaslight me. You can probably go in those other spaces and play those games, but I see right through you. I see right through you. Every other comment, the pretending like you Black American food is foreign, and what is that, and what is macaroni and cheese, and what, like, girl, bye. I see through you. I really do. And I expected more of you. I used to think that you were just curious and that you were doing that, but no, you full of shit. Okay. And I just want you to know I see you. So I don't know if this waxing, waning moon that we're under is getting to is revealing it to me or what. But girl, bye. Ain't nobody crazy.
Yeah, so what I'll say is, listen, and there are some things, and Nyla, you and I talked, what was it, a few weeks ago, about that particular person who I realized is them. Every time
Oh.
it's a problem, it's them.
Mm.
Um, yeah. This is a time of revelations, right? Revelations and acceptance of things.
Yeah, like, I'm not mad at her. I'm not mad. I'm not ever going to be mad at people being who they are. But
Yeah.
I just need, look, I see you. I just need you to know that. Like, honey, I didn't raise kids damn near double your age. I know game. I know gaslighting. I understand energy to degrees that you probably have not yet even deciphered. Okay. And I'm not wrong. My intuition does not fail me. I fail it by not listening. I see what you're doing.
Ooh, that's a whole word right there. Yeah, I've learned to listen to over over the years, girl. You be
Yeah,
getting
I mean,
toe up
it's
when
just
you don't
like
listen.
I don't have no problem with her, but like you're not gonna gaslight me. You're not gonna gas. I see exactly what she's doing because she's not the first one to do it. Like, you just really think about it all the time. Oh, Black American this and American like, and you want to talk about slavery and you want to talk about Juneteenth. Talk about them goddamn pumpkins and the corn or whatever the hell is going on in Canada, in Canada. That's what you do. Always got something to say. You
Yeah,
can
like
give
I
her
said,
the link.
this
I'm not gonna fight. I'm not gonna argue. You can give her the link. I don't care.
yeah, like I said, this is a time for revelations and just things coming out into the open, facing things. It just is what it is. And that's even with interpersonal things too, because there was a situation that Mr. Hoodoo recently went through and he just had to really just sit back and um just assess things, right?
Yeah.
Assess things and experiences and things like that he's been through and kind of realize some things, about himself as a
Mm,
person, things he thought that he needed to do and things like that. It just is that spiritual time, and that is okay. A lot of people can't handle it. That's why, like I said, and I'll say it again, a lot of times when I talk about accountability, seeing things for what they are, recognizing the place that we play in some of the things that go on in our lives, a lot of people don't like that. People don't like that
no,
because it's reflection, and a lot of people can't sit in their own energy. They can't sit and reflect because a lot of people don't like who they are. Don't even
mm.
like themselves.
And don't like people that they are around or they have issues that they should just be honest about. I do not have the ability to fake the funk with anybody. If I'm not feeling something, I have to remove myself or I have to say
Yes.
what it is. If I have any level of respect for you, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to tell my neighbor. I'm not going to,
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you. So I'm sorry.
Yeah. 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 And like I said, people don't want to hear it. You have to do the work. Have to take responsibility. People don't like I said, someone's just like no, Saturn, people don't like Saturn because Saturn makes you sit there, eat your food, look at the shit that you ignored, the things you could have did better, the planning that you should have done, the logic that you should have listened to, and guess what? Now your shit being torn up because you didn't listen. You didn't pay attention to the rules. You know what I'm saying? Like all those people don't like that.
Yep.
People don't like that. It's easy to to blame it on someone else. And some things are some people's problems, some things are, because of other people. But especially when we're talking about the core, especially like your particular life, you do what you can, right? Some things you have no control over, but you can
Hmm.
at least do what you can for stuff that you have control over.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to face themselves. They
Yeah.
don't like themselves. They don't want to sit in that and do that damn shadow work that they need to do, figure out what it is so you can do better, be better, move past it, right? And be grounded in things.
Hmm.
So yeah, Donna's backstage. I'm gonna bring Donna up.
Okay.
All right. Kevin says I'm in the middle of a fast right now. Yeah, the change. Yep. I had to take a look at myself with some things like, ooh, cute. Okay, you can't just sit and just say this is okay anymore. You literally have to try something else. This isn't working. So even me, I'm not separated from that. I'm not separate from that.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
mean, no one is above self check or being checked.
Yeah. Like, but a lot of people, like I said, they run from it, right? A lot of
Hmm.
people run from it, and you just can't, especially now in these times, especially now in these times. So, uh, so I'm gonna sit back and You two ladies can have a conversation, but I'm here. I'm about to go jump in the chat and see what's up with the people. But
Okay.
yeah, Donna, you're here. You've been added to the stream. So yeah.
So how am I anti-black now?
I didn't say you were anti-black male. I said you are
No, I
anti-black
said
American.
anti-black now. Because you said that yesterday too, and I'm very like confused why you think this.
Oh yeah, I don't know why you're confused. Because you're very direct with your passive aggressive insults. Okay, and you don't have to be passive aggressive. You should actually it do you better to be aggressive because that gets you a little bit more respect. Okay, you like to play games. You like to gaslight. And then what you like to do when you're talking shit about people and pretend, because on one hand you act like you're the 20-year-old 75-year-old with all of the knowledge in the world about everything going on in the world, everything in science, everything in history, everything to do with culture. You're an authority on every subject. But then when you get caught in the conversation, then I'm just 20. And Donna, quite frankly, I've had enough of it. Yesterday, just like today, you knew what you were doing. And I don't even think that you were completely serious, but because you're talking to people that are serious, it's disrespectful. You like to gaslight. You like to say things that garner a response out of people, and you like to be flippant and blatantly disrespectful. Your rant about how Black American women are seen and Black American people this goes right along with your every time somebody says something about a Black American cuisine. Oh, what is that? Oh, I've never heard of that. Girl, bullshit. You're on social media and you know every damn thing else. When I tell you there is not a subject that comes up, either it's in your family or you know the people personally. You know every damn thing. But all of a sudden, when we're talking about Black American stuff or history, you don't know shit conveniently. And at first I thought that you really didn't because of your age and because of where you're from. But now looking back at how you know every goddamn thing else, I'm just starting to recognize that you like to disrespect. That's what you like.
No, I really don't. Like when I say stuff about the food, like I genuinely did not know that because
You're on
I'm
social
Jamaican.
media just like everybody else.
Yeah,
So
but
you,
I don't. But I
girl,
don't.
I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid.
But Nyla, I'm not trying to like argue or say like that's not your opinion.
We're not
That's not
arguing.
your opinion. And like I get like that's how you feel, and maybe internally, maybe because of the media I consume, maybe I do have some bias. I don't know. I don't feel like I do because I don't hate anybody based on their color or culture. Personally,
I
I just
wouldn't
don't
say
feel
you
that way.
hate. I wouldn't say you hate. I wouldn't say it's hate. I think hate is a little bit too strong, and I'm not going to put that on you. But what I will say is there's or I mean just I'm not the only person that sees it. I know multiple people see it. So I'm not trying to pick on you per se, right? That's not what I'm doing.
I know, but
But
I'm just saying for me, it feels like y'all are like picking at me because for me, I grew up in a white French culture. I grew up around white French people, and the few black people I did interact with were Caribbean. And the only thing I've ever seen in media here of black American women is those stereotypes because the way how they write black Canadian women, they don't write them the same. That's just my experience. I don't say that to be rude on purpose. If it's coming off as rude, I'm sorry, but that is just my experience. Like the same thing what you're saying with African American food. When it comes to world history here, because I grew up around Asians, around Hispanics, around
do you
different
honestly
people of
think
different
living in
cultures,
America? Do you
we
honestly
learn
think
those things.
people living in America are not around French people, Italian people, Irish people, Asian people? Do you really believe that America is void of all of those cultures being represented and that we are just ignorant of it and that we all live in these ghettos where we twerk and we know nothing of other cultures? Is that what is that what you're trying to pull off here?
No, that's not what I'm
Right,
saying. I'm
because your
just saying
experience living around French, white people, whatever, is not unique.
I know, but I'm just saying for me, the way how I was as a Canadian and the things that we learned here, I learned about other histories, right? That's what they teach us here. Here we don't learn much about Black Americans in school or much of anything Black. So for me, what
But
I
you have a lot
literally,
to say about Black people, a lot. Like you in a lot of the conversations, you have a lot to say. You use the plan. You like to use a lot of our nomenclature, talking about what happened on the plantation and all this kind of stuff. When
yeah,
that's not
because we
right,
learn
that's not
about
even your
slavery in
hair.
school.
Actually, because that's not your heritage, and because you make a point of separating yourself from Black people based on your nationality, being Canadian and Jamaican and maroon and all that kind of stuff. You really have no business joining in on certain parts. It's no different than a white person doing it at that point.
Yeah, but here as Black Canadians, they have similar experiences with the plantation. Like here we learned about slavery, that I know about. But with certain things I don't know about and I genuinely want to learn. Like when I learn about the South, there's a lot of things that I'm learning here that in school for us it was just the South is racist. That's it. That's what it was. It's basic stuff. We don't know the ins and outs. It's just slavery, the South was racist. That's it. Most of what I know about America is the white American side of it because that's what we learn here. So when I'm
So
saying things, it's not to be racist.
if you can articulate that most of what you know about Black people come from what you learn about white people, just having a concept of that understanding lets me know that you're gaslighting, because you know damn well that white people cannot articulate to you or teach you the experiences or what Black culture even is. So that's another way that you like to gaslight and get out of stuff. Well, I don't know because I learned from white people about Black people, but you
No,
sure
I'm
don't
not saying I
know
learned
how.
from white people. I'm just saying I learned American culture in general and I just applied that to everybody
You've
because
been
that's
in
what
these
I've learned.
spaces, Donna, for a long time, and you like primarily around. Since you've been around us, we generally are talking about Black issues. When we talk about the Black community and stuff like that, you join in and sometimes will dominate the conversations of surrounding anything about Black people. And typically, we're not talking about Black Canadians; we're talking about Black Americans, and you're very vocal, right? So I just don't understand how you don't think that it comes off kind of jacked up.
Well, I could see now that you're saying that how that can come off jacked up, but with in terms of like the struggle with the men and stuff, we all have that similar experience. So those things like I talk about are experiences with racism, but with other particulars and ins and outs of the culture, no. Like even for the slang and stuff that I do use, I've learned that from TikTok because everybody on TikTok, white or Black, speaks like that. But in my real life, like that's not what we do. And it's just like it could just be because I grew up in Quebec, in Montreal, with mostly white people, having mostly white friends, and that could just be why.
That's not, no, because like I grew up the first like 12 to 15 years of my life, primarily white people. But what I didn't do was go into spaces and pretend to be aloof from the Black experience because I didn't have the typical Black experience firsthand. You don't, you like, maybe you're not very self-aware, and I am starting to think that sometimes, but you're coming off offensive sometimes. And I know that you saw that I was not the only person in the chat, but that was saying that, but people are pretty much not saying things to you, or letting it go because you do, whenever someone has kind of like hinted around to your behavior, we chalk it up to youth or your lack of experience or whatever. But I'm not the only person to see this. And I don't have bad intuition. I have really good intuition. And I feel like you're playing in my face.
I'm I'm really not though. Like I'm not trying to like purposefully do it. Like if that's really what like you think it is, I'm not trying to purposely do it. Like I do
Okay.
have a Black experience, but I have a Black Canadian one. And I have gone through some of those things. So for me it's like it's similar, but for me
Hmm.
yesterday I just didn't understand why everybody felt like oh, I was rude for saying, like, to me, Robert Downey Jr. is a better actor. To me, he is.
Look, you can definitely have that opinion, Donna. I would never say you can definitely have that opinion, but it came off as more satirical than anything. It came off, I don't know, Q, if you are around, but it was more like, I'm going to gaslight these Black Americans with white people. It's like, it kind of reminded me of when I've been around people that don't actually have the experience that they have. Like, have you ever been around people that kind of like falsely represent that they have like a middle class suburban experience, but because you know better, you can tell that they're just acting the part? Well, it came off like you were acting a part. It came off like you were purposefully trying to, again, gaslight the American Negroes. Just like when, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because I was in the mountains, so my phone was acting a little cuckoo, but I believe that you kind of spoke about like Dorothy Dandridge in a way that was like super disrespectful. Like, you call her like that girl at one point, but then there, if I'm not mistaken, and forget if I am, I apologize, but there was praise for Marilyn Monroe or something like that. And one of the, if that part was correct, one of the reasons why I know that you were gaslighting and attempting to get them to get up in arms, to get Tanjan to get after you for saying that, so that you could pretend to be a victim, is because you're in these spaces with us. And so you, I know, have seen the content. I know you've seen all over social media, all over your TikTok, where Marilyn Monroe was usurping the energy of Black women and their beauty, and how actually the mentor of Marilyn was a Dorothy Dandridge. And I just felt like you were doing what white people do in Black spaces, and that you get a kick out of doing it because you were talking to people that were older than you, that had a little bit more experience, and you just wanted to play around with them. That's how it came out.
That's not what I was trying to do, though. When it came to like Marilyn Monroe, it's because here for us, for me, she was the icon that I looked to. For me, I didn't even remember like Dorothy's like proper last name. That's why I asked like, what was that girl's name? Because I genuinely didn't remember. I remember Dorothy, but I remember the other side. I've heard like on TikTok in passing, like, oh, she's inspired by Black women, but I've never really watched, like the full videos to see who and the connections there.
And
Because
see,
like,
I just felt like you did that because you wanted to, because you knew that people were going to like look at you like you were crazy about that, or even find it insulting when you kept referring to an adult woman as a girl, kind of like white people do. And you kept doing it, I believe, because you wanted Tanjan in particular, or someone in the chat, to check you in a way, or to say something to you that was inflammatory, so that you could just say, oh, well, in Canada, this is how, this is how it goes. It just came off fake as fuck. It just came off as
that girl, that's actually like how I speak in like real life. But if that sounds like condescending,
well, you didn't refer to Marilyn as a girl.
But I remembered her name when I said like that girl. It was just to ask like what was her last like name, so I could say it properly, because I was thinking Dorothy Days, like, because I couldn't remember her last name. That's why it wasn't like to be like that girl, like, oh, she's less than. Like, I can understand if that's how that came off, because sometimes the way how I talk to people does sound like rude and stuff. So I do apologize for that if that's how that came off. But it was literally just to be like who's that girl? Like Dorothy, like, oh, what was that girl's name again? Like Dorothy, because I didn't remember. But it wasn't.
I mean, I can understand you feeling like you come off rude, like, because some people tell me that I come off rude, but and I know when I'm coming off rude, and I know when I'm rude because I'm a grown-ass woman, right? So when people tell me that I come off as rude sometimes, most of the time it's because I'm trying to. And what I do, because I'm a grown-ass woman, is I accept accountability for it. And I said, yeah, I was. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to pretend that, you know, I'm spewing rainbows and cotton candy when it's thunder and lightning. You understand what I'm saying? And I feel like you do a lot of that. And then when someone confronts you with it, you kind of like, you know, you always have this save where you can go and say that you're young, you're Canadian, you're Jamaican, your culture. I was around white people. I was this, and I was like, it just that it made, look, I am on my period, right? Full moon coming. Other people were perceiving it the same way, and so it kind of validated how I felt. But I don't want to be unfair to you. You understand what I'm saying? So if what I was saying was, if that was completely wrong, if all of our feelings about what you said was wrong, and you just it's down to a culture thing, then I apologize if I've made you feel uncomfortable. But it did come off as condescending, as gaslighting, and it appeared to be really disrespectful. And I'm actually happy that I was not home, because I don't know that we would have been able to recover from how I felt about what you were doing.
For me, it wasn't like being satirical, or I was being genuine, because for me over here, for what I grew up watching and the shows I like, that was iconic for us. Things like Dawson's Creek, things like that, 70s
Yeah, my
shows,
kids
things
watch that.
like those things here for Canada, because we mostly see white actors and white shows, those are iconic to us.
That's
You know what I
iconic
mean?
in America too, though. Those Dawson's Creek and all that kind of stuff, 90210, that's what my children watched. That's what, you know, my children graduated from a high school that only had 7 other Black people. Like that is, you know, but what they won't do is be purposefully condescending. And again, you said that you weren't. So I'm going to give you that. But there's not a show, I don't think, I know you guys do have y'all shows too, but stuff like Dawson's Creek, that was bigger in America than life. Like that was a big deal. Like my daughter had, I forgot which one of those boys, but she had posters of him all over her wall. Whoever the handsome teenage boy was, okay, that was in that show, she had his picture all over the place, you know.
Yeah, I was just saying, for us, like for here, that's the thing. And for me, because of the spaces that I'm in and just my generation here of being like Black Canadian, even the friends like I have and I talk to, for us, when we talk about like greatest actors, for us it's like Robert Downey Jr., Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds, like all over, like, you know, TikTok, everywhere, like internationally, like that's who a lot of us celebrate, the white ones. So I don't say it as a way to put down the Black ones, you know. That could just be my own error. Maybe do need to start watching more like Black movies with Black casts and
You
stuff
don't
like
have
that to
to, dear.
learn.
You
But
don't
for
have
me,
to.
it was like, when it comes to catalogs and movies that are like iconic and everybody remembers and stuff like that, for me, I was just saying those people because those are like the movies like everybody goes crazy about.
Yeah, so
Like
you
here
brought
for me.
up the international appeal. Most American actors are like internationally known. You know what I'm saying? American actors have an appeal that American Western actor, we set the bar.
Yeah, I know.
So it's kind of, again, it's coming off disingenuous when you act like Canada is someplace not in Western society. Like you can't get to New York in 8 hours. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're coming off like we can't just drive to Canada. You're coming off like you can't just drive to America. Like it's so far and distant. Like the culture is so different. Everything is so. And I have a friend that lives in Canada that I talk to hours, right? Couple times a week. And not to say that every single part of Canada is the same, because that would be silly, right?
Yeah, parts are
But
different.
yeah, just like the different parts of the states are different. But like you literally act or come off like Canada is someplace in bumfuck Egypt.
Well, if that's how it comes off, I'm sorry. Like if that's how it comes off, like I'm sorry. But for me, like the way how I grown up, like I know Toronto is a lot like America with the
Mm-hmm.
culture. But here, Montreal and a lot of parts of Quebec are very different.
Mm-hmm.
Places like where my family lives, Alberta, like that's very different. So
Yeah.
for me, you know, I talk from that like experience, and I'm not saying like people don't know black actors here or they don't like people don't know them, but the ones that people always talk about and we always hype up here are the white ones. Like
Okay.
everybody's like, oh my god, Brad Pitt and Robert Downey Jr. and like that's our thing. Even when we do like our 50 best actors list, it's mostly white people.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just how it is for us here. So when I was speaking, it wasn't from like a place of like, oh, Denzel is less because he's black, but just for me, I was speaking as Robert Downey Jr., Ryan Reynolds, like those are like my people. Just like the same way how like Chris
Yeah, I
Brown,
mean, it
right?
just
Like the big
understand that
guy.
because
For
you're
me, it's
black,
Justin Bieber.
right? So because you're black, a lot of people would expect that all of the artists that you like or all the actors are supposed to be black. I don't think like that. I'm going to see Maroon 5 before I go see Usher. I'm going like, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody doesn't think, I don't think that you have to put a black on top or anything like that. But the way that it was structured, the conversation, it literally came off as satire. And no one's trying to say that, but even in this conversation that we are having now, I feel like you are skilled and highly manipulative when it comes to pretending or playing the victim in a conversation and trying to act like you're saying something that you're not saying. I feel like you're very skilled at this. Like this is what you do. Whether or not if it's unconscious or what.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't manipulate people purposefully in conversation. It's just how I talk and I communicate. I just try to be careful with my words and what I say. And I
Mm,
and I try my best just to articulate myself like properly. Because like
yeah.
even in that conversation, like I felt attacked by the chat just saying, "Oh, I'm anti-black, I'm disrespecting black people." It's like I'm not anti-black. I don't hate being a black person and I don't hate black people for being black. And for
Mhm.
me, like what you were saying in the comments, like like I understand it's like your opinion and what you see, but it just kind of like hurt my feelings and made me feel like, well, shit, like why is she like, you know,
I
why
heard
is she getting like,
that.
yeah,
I
kind
didn't.
of,
I'm
because
sorry.
it made me
I
feel
wasn't.
like
I wasn't
like
trying
why does she think like I'm purposely trying to disrespect or like hate people, because that is just my experience. And like I like now that I'm talking to you, I get why you felt that way and you felt like, oh, I was trying to put people down, but I wasn't trying to put people down. For me, it was just those actors were better.
to.
It was
Okay.
just simply put that. It wasn't trying to like put anybody down or put down black shows because they're black, because like I hate that type of stuff. And
Yeah.
like I just hate when people tell me that type of stuff, because it's like, no, I'm not anti-black. I will stand up for black people. I just have a difference of opinion on certain things.
So I'm going to tell you something, Donna. My intention definitely was not to hurt your feelings. Um, you in conversation, you typically are very succinct and you take a very strong position in your conversation. So I was giving you grown woman energy. Okay, so I wasn't. It wasn't. It was a reflection of the role that I believe you are attempting to put yourself in, right?
No,
Because
it
you are.
wasn't. It wasn't everything that you said. Like the movie stuff, you know, like that's a subjective. It was just the part where you were like, "Oh, I'm anti-black." I was like, "Damn, she really thinks like after everything I'm anti-black?" Like I was just kind of like, I was like low key kind of offended by that and hurt, because like a lot of people like will do that to me, like, you know, like in the chat box. Some people in real
Mhm.
life, some older people will try to say like, oh, I'm anti-black, and maybe I do need to work on it and see it. So like I am going to take that suggestion, because I do hear it from some older people in real life, and I hear, you know, and I'm hearing it from you now online, and I respect you very much and I've learned a lot from you and I look up to you. So I am gonna like look internally and maybe see if there is some type of subconscious anti-blackness maybe there. But for me, how I consciously feel, I don't feel that way. So for
Okay.
me, it like instantly put me like on the guard and on the defense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was just like, whoa,
Yeah,
like
I
how
wasn't
how can
trying.
this
I
happen?
apologize if I hurt your feelings. 'Cause that was not my intention. I really wanted to provoke more dialogue from you. I wanted you to own what you were saying, or distance yourself from it. And the more I said something, the more you held firm to your point, and that's fine. I respect people who can hold
Because
their
if I'm being
point.
honest, Nyla, now like that we're talking, I understand your opinion, but at the time it felt like the chat box was just trying to get me to say like, oh, like you're only like I felt like the chat box was trying to say that I'm only saying those actors are good because they're white. And like you only like it because it's white. And like
That I
that's
mean,
why I
that's
got
how it
like
came off.
and that's
It's
why
how
I
it
got
came off.
defensive. Yeah, and I'm sorry if that's how it came off. Like I own that and I apologize. But like that's not what I meant. That's why I got like instantly I started getting more defensive because it's like, no, I actually like these shows and I actually think that because of these actors' catalogs and stuff. It's not has nothing to do with their perceived whiteness or whatever. Like I
Okay.
really don't care about that. That's
Well,
why for me
I would just
more
say this: if more than one person felt that way, and you don't, this is just me saying you don't have to take my advice or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to dislike you if you don't. I would, because I guess, and I think Lilith said it a little while ago that it's kind of coming off as culturally insensitive. That's what it is, and I don't want to be insensitive, and I don't want you to feel bullied or attacked or anything like that. You're an adult, so I'm handling you how we're talking grown. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
but I don't want to. You're completely entitled to feel, even if your feelings are anti-black, right? You can have it. You know what I'm saying? Like you absolutely can have that way. It's just that and if, like, for instance, there are some people that I know they are. You know what I'm saying? They're not apologizing for it. That's how they are, right?
Yeah, but I
You
don't want to be
present,
anti-black.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't put you in that category. And so it was off putting because it was like, oh, so that's what it is. You know, because you know how, like, if you think somebody's one way and then you find out they're another way, you're kind of like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So it
Yeah.
was more of that. So that's all. But I would just like, it's I don't know how to say, or what would be an example of you kind of putting yourself in our shoes. But it's like, just, you got black people already that have like self-esteem issues and have pride issues and think that they don't have a culture and want to destroy it, or and all of this kind of stuff, and hold up the degeneracy and diminish the part that is culture. And then you have groups all over the world that will use the degenerate as the example while they usurp the good parts of the culture and act like it doesn't exist, or whatever the case may be, right? So
Yeah.
it's easy, kind of like, when we have these conversations, everybody can talk about what's going on with Black Americans, the men, the women, the out of wedlock birth rate. Nobody has a problem, but dare not say anything about precious Africa.
No,
Dare not
I'm
say, you
not
know what I
like
mean?
that. Cause like, and you've seen me do it in chat before. I have come on the panel and said stuff about Jamaica, about Canada. Like, I don't think that because I'm Jamaican, like in the sense of like my men or my culture, that I'm better. There's degeneracy everywhere. Like there's even that with white people. So I don't think like because one person is here of this race, of this ethnicity, they're
Mhm.
not better, or they're better. No, like the stuff that I was just saying about like American women is just seriously how like the shows here in Quebec, here in our media, that's just how they represented it. It has nothing to do with I think I'm better, because I just don't think that.
Okay.
Because yeah, like
It Like when
I'll
you
never say that.
compound it, when you compound your comments today with the comments from yesterday, that's how, like, that's what, because like they validate each other. So that's why it kind of like comes off. So okay, so now today you're in the chat and you're discussing Black American women and Black Americans women's image, and this is how people view you. You can't really go into a space like if you're in a space where everybody's Creole mostly, right? Because most of the women here are going to be Black American, right? If you go into a space where all of the women are Creole, and you start saying, well, yeah, Creole women this, Creole women that, Creole women that, and even if there's elements of it that is true, you coming in as a Jamaican, maroon Canadian, they're gonna be
They're gonna
offended.
get mad.
Yeah, they're not mad. It's not mad, Donna. It's offensive. It's offended. There's a difference between someone being mad at you than someone being offended or taking offense at an action that you've done.
Yeah, I get that now. Because for me, when I was like the conversation in the chat, it wasn't like trying to like shit on Black American women. I was just simply saying like, here when you wear certain aesthetics, they see it as like ghetto. They see it as like ghetto because it's something
Yeah,
that
it's that
Black
here too. Here too. Here too.
like that's all I was saying, like really.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like this is what I personally think. I was literally just saying like what the media says and what like the white people around me growing up have like said to me, or like say in
Mm-hmm.
conversation with how they feel, right? Because like racism here and how we talk about race here is different than in America in a sense. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like America, you guys are getting better at like race and it's more PC. Here, like we pretend to the outside world it's more PC, but people still say like messed up like stuff all the time.
Yeah, and see, I'll be honest, I do not know a lot about Canadian culture, and then even when I'm talking to my Canadian friend, she just doesn't. There are certain things because she also has a Jamaican background. So there are some things that where I can recognize, that's a cultural difference, but it's not that much of a contrast. And but I don't know much about Canadian culture, I'll be honest, and I don't know much about Canadian Black culture. So because I don't, if I'm in a space dominated by Black Canadians, I'm kind of going to read the room and observe how they present their culture, and I'm going to respect the fact that I'm not Canadian, so the nuances within the culture, or within whatever that goes on in Canada amongst Black people or whatever, I'm going to understand that I've got a blind spot there. So because if I respect the people that I'm talking to, I'm not going to go in with an authoritative tone or understanding. I'm going to be more asking questions, and looking for clarity more so than making asserting certain stereotypes or whatever, because I wouldn't want to offend them. But that's just me.
I'll do that more. No, you're right. When I think about it now, I'll do that more. Cuz for me, like yesterday I didn't expect it to take such a left turn, cuz for me it was just we were talking about movies and actors and lighthearted. I didn't think like it was going to have like that deep of like a thing to people.
Yeah.
Cuz for me it was just like seriously like just it's just movies to me.
Yeah.
But I understand that that is probably a flaw with me, because there are certain things like I'll watch it. Like, for a lot of people in the chat, they were saying Good Times was something like super monumental to the culture for them. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's just a funny show with roasts, right? Because
Yeah.
while some of that like all Black people everywhere could like relate to, for a lot of it that is just strictly like Black American things that I don't relate to. So I don't
Yeah.
see the cultural significance of it. For me it's just a fun, show or movie.
Right. And I understand that. I get that.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
one thing I
I'm,
will apologize for, because like I did see everybody got upset about it in the chat.
they weren't
I,
upset, Donna. They were offended.
Well, the
They were
way how people got offended by one thing in the chat that I did say, and I realized it came out wrong, but I just didn't want to bring it up again because I was already like on the defensive.
Mhm.
Is the is the role the comment about like black movies and the struggle of, because I didn't mean to imply that all black movies were struggle of, but I saw that's how people take it. So for that, I do apologize because that wording was just wrong. And I didn't want to make it seem like, like I'm okay with like white struggle of movies or anything like that. I just don't I just don't like love movies, let alone most of the struggle of nonsense.
Okay.
Like
All
like
right. Well.
like that was my only thing, but I was just I was just like like even when people in the chat were being like, yeah, but America's, white too, and we're not like that, but like white Americans and white Canadians have totally different culture from each other, like the way how they
It
think
was
and
kind of
feel.
like when you the only like when it did get like really offensive when you were like, well, the only thing that Angela Bassett can do is play a black role, and she's a black woman, and I think Scarlett can only play a white role. I don't think she can play a black role. I don't think that she has so much diversity that she can be every woman. And it was just weird, and like it's not, and again, it's not even that serious of a conversation, but it just appeared that it just came off the same way white people come off when they try to diminish black women and their talent and what they're do. You're talking about someone that has an Oscar nod, so you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So it was just weird.
yeah, and I apologize for that too, because I didn't mean that comment the way how it came off.
Hmm.
What I should have said was just like a lot of the time she's in like roles that like I personally see as like struggle roles or struggling roles, because I just don't like seeing black women get dogged out on TV. I just don't like to see those types of things. That's what I
Yeah,
meant by black role, but I should have just worded that better because that came out like super wrong. Because I
I think
do.
that if you didn't make so many emphasis on, and I'm not saying there's, because there's nothing wrong with it, but you make a high emphasis on being Canadian and Jamaican, right? And then with a lot of conversation, a lot of negative uh, conversation around being black and American. So you make a big separation, and then you have criticism for the black American. That's what makes it offensive.
Okay, and I apologize for that. I'll stop doing that
That's okay.
because because like because that comes out like as wrong, because when I make the distinction, it's not even to be like I'm better. It's just
No,
to be
it's,
like
yeah, it's fine. It's fine to make
it's
the
just to
decision.
be like from like the outside looking in, or like this is my perspective from my thing. But I don't think like like when you're telling me like go talk about like Canada and the things going on there, like I don't think Canada is better. I just don't think anybody's better. Now maybe I do have like some type of like internalized anti-blackness that I do need to work out,
Hmm.
because like a lot of older people will tell me, like like a lot of people in like your age, Nyla, like you're anti-black, you're anti-black, like you're not the first person like to tell me this, but for me it's just I don't see it. And maybe that's something that I need to work on seeing. Because for me, I just didn't see how I was being anti black. Because
Hmm.
just for me personally, race is not a huge like thing. It is, but it isn't. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? So that's probably something that like I need to learn.
Yeah. I mean, we're all learning, so don't beat yourself up. I accept your apology, and I hope that you accept mine. I was not trying to um, hurt your feelings or anything like that, and I appreciate the conversation.
No, it's like it's okay. I just like I was just like sad that like you thought like I was like a man, like a manipulative like bitch that thought she was better than other people, because I genuinely don't think that.
I see
But
it.
but if that's how
That's you
actually
don't that
honestly,
part. I don't know if you understand that. Like I don't even think I said that that was part of the thought process that like that you thought that you were better. I feel like that that was part of the manipulation ploy so that you could say what you just said. But most of it for me was just coming off that you just had disdain for Black Americans. Not that you thought that you were better, but there was a disdain. But I did feel like it was coming off as you were setting yourself up in a very manipulative way so that when you left the conversation, you could say, oh, well, they think that I'm better. And someone could say, well, if people think that you're better, then that's because, you know what I'm saying? I felt like it was high level manipulation. I really did.
yeah, no, and I don't want you to think like I'm a manipulative person, like because I'm not, at least not purposefully.
Hmm.
Maybe I am and I don't realize it. But for me, like, yeah, I don't want to like come off with disdain, right? Because low key people that have like disdain for other people think they're better,
Yeah.
and I don't want to like I don't want people to think I have disdain and low key feel like better than other people because I don't feel like I'm better. I feel like
Yeah.
everybody's like equal, everybody's like the same. Like, and like I see like people in the chat were saying like, you know, like I was being prissy and stuff, and it's like, oh, like typical Jamaican rhetoric. And like if that's something I could change, like I do want to change it because I don't want to come off like I'm like prissy or like better. Like I just don't.
Yeah, you don't come off better. You just come off like it just comes off that whatever disdain you have for Black Americans, women, um, the men, I don't really care because I mean I think you do you could you have your disdain with Black American men as well as a Canadian woman. I get it to a certain degree,
For me
but
it's just I don't for me it's just like I see nonsense with black men period, but I don't have a disdain. But if I do, like if it does come off like I have a disdain, I genuinely want to change that because I don't want people to feel like I have a disdain for them, and I don't want to have like an internalized
yeah,
disdain for people cuz I don't want to be anti-black in like any form, knowingly
right,
or unknowingly. Like I don't want to be that way because I am black. So I don't want to
yeah,
be anti-black.
yeah, yeah, we still love you, and yeah, it's cool. We're cool.
Yeah, but that's all. It was just like I was just like I just didn't like how like I made you like annoyed or upset because it was like you were just like cursing me out. You're like, I'm tired of it. I'm sick
I
of
did.
it. I
I
do
did
it.
not curse you out, Donna. I did
Well,
not
for
curse.
well for me it felt that way. Like I was like, oh, I'm walking into a drill. Let me just go up there and clear this up because I don't want to feel like I just don't want to like feel like like I'm being manipulative or I'm hurting your feelings because I genuinely like you. So I don't
I,
want you to like
I like
have
you
like
too.
a lesser opinion of me.
I like you too. I'm sorry, I was just muting because AI washing machines and dryers, they warn you about them being done in weird ways. Like it's this thing is plays a stupid ass song.
Yeah,
Um,
mine does too. My washer, my dryer, they both sing when they're done.
yeah,
Some
they.
little tune or whatever.
I
So
mean,
Yeah,
we
like
could have them play Tupac or something after.
yeah, like I'm even seeing Renaissance woman saying like, "Oh, it sounds like a white woman when her game is peep." And if that's what it sounds like, then that's something I want to change too. Because I do recognize in a lot of ways that I do have more so in some ways a mentality of a white woman. I do realize that because most of my friends are white, most of my workplace is white,
Hmm.
and like because I'm in a society that is low key kind of passive aggressive, I probably do that without realizing.
Yeah.
So
And
that
I
is something
and
I want to
I can
change.
understand where sometimes things get misunderstood because I know there are times when I'm rude and it's purposefully or whatever, and then there are times when I've been told that I'm being arrogant. Like Taz says, I have a really smart mouth, even when I'm not intending to. So I can understand that as well. But
Yeah,
I
like
know
no.
when I'm being, when I know when I'm being, and I do own it though. I know when I'm being that way.
Yeah, no, that's something like, because like now listening, I probably am not self-aware when I say certain things that come off as prissy and rude. Because some
Mm,
people in chat, you know, when I come up on the panel, they'll be like, oh, she's rude, she's this. And for me, I just genuinely don't see it as rude.
mhm,
You know, for me, I see it as like, I'm talking, I'm learning, you know, I'm seeing what y'all are talking about, and I'm learning it
mm.
from your perspective. So like when I come up on a panel, I don't mean to dominate, and I'm going to try to work on that with talking less and just listening.
And I'm not trying to change. Donna, don't be hard on yourself, okay?
No, but like it's not that I'm being hard on myself. It's just that I'm the type of person, like if I'm doing something like wrong or that displeases a lot of people, I don't want to do that purposefully, and it's hurtful.
Well, yeah, it's just like New Marie said, I think she's responding to what you're saying. That comes with age. Like self-awareness does come with age. And I've had to have my coattails pulled, and it still happens. I have people that I love, that love me, that respect me, and they'll say, hey, that was wild. You know what I mean? And like I said, the self-awareness definitely comes with age and experience, and just learning how to, read the room.
Yeah, because I don't want to be the problem.
Yeah. I
Like,
don't think it's a problem.
like I don't want to be like one of those people like you and Q are thinking like, oh, I'm always the problem, like in the chat, or I'm always the problem. And I just don't want to be a problem to people like purposely, because I just don't like problems. I don't want to be that way on purpose.
Yeah, I get
So
it.
like that's just for me, for something like I want to change, and I don't want to feel like, like people have to like tap dance around me because I'm young. You could
Mm.
still say it, and like, yeah, in that moment I probably am going to be defensive and be mad, because I'm going to be honest, I don't like when people like, try to like tell me something about myself like that, cuz for me I see it like, oh,
Nobody does. Do you think anybody don't
no, no,
you
no, I'm not saying like you were, I'm just saying in general, like,
No, I'm just saying, don't nobody want to hear shit about themselves. We just learn, through maturity to suck it up and listen to it if it's worth it. You know what I mean? Like Q don't want to hear nobody telling her about herself. Nyla don't. I don't want to hear a motherfucking thing about what I'm doing. That this, you know what I'm saying? Nobody does. So
yeah,
that's not a foreign concept, and that's not a character flaw. Okay, don't nobody want to hear shit about what they're doing, especially when they're an adult.
yeah, so like if it is coming off that way, just like tell me. And like, yeah, I might be mad in that moment and defensive, but like I'll think about it, cuz when you like said that to me yesterday, I did think, okay, well, how am I anti-black, and do I really have internalized anti-blackness, and do I really feel like white people are better than black people, and stuff like that. And that is something like I'm thinking about, like the more that you're saying it, because if that's how it comes across, I don't want it to come across that way, and I don't even want to feel that way internally.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, so that's all. Like I don't want to feel like, like, because I know a lot of people don't like me in the chat, whatever, but I don't want to feel like,
I don't think that's it either, Donna. I think you have offended people at different times, and so um you sometimes come off as offensive, but I don't think people just dislike you.
well, I don't know, to me it feels like dislike, or like people just but heads, and I don't want to be like, like I don't want to be like disliked for stuff that like I'm doing that is just straight up like wrong or offensive. So like
Or you just,
Is
or you just be getting on people's nerves. Like I think most of us are, we're older than you. So you're younger, so you get on our nerves, not because you're younger, but just because younger people say younger people shit. Right? So you're gonna get on, looks like, don't we get on your nerves because we're old? Because we say old shit. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes.
Right. So when we're saying our old people shit and it's getting on your nerves, you don't dislike me when I say old lady shit. It just
No,
gets on your nerves. Same thing. You say Gen Z shit and I be like, Lord, let me go somewhere and sit down.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So
that's
for me,
all it
like,
is.
I just don't want anybody to feel like they have to, like, baby me, because there's other people close to my age in the chat, and I just don't want to feel like, you
Mhm.
know, I just don't want you guys to feel like you have to baby me, or something. Like, if you feel like it's wrong, like, call it out, because like when I don't agree with something, I like call it out, like, very vehemently. I
Yeah.
might be mad in that moment, because like I do realize this about myself, and I have gotten a lot better from like when I was like 13 and stuff, but I do
Mhm.
realize I am like a very like confrontational person, in the sense of like, if I feel like there's a confrontation, like I'm ready to fight, and
Mhm.
I'm like trying to change that perspective. But if you feel like, is this, just call it for what it is, and I might get mad in that moment and like not say nothing. Sorry if I sound like I'm about to cry, it's that my nose is blocked.
Oh,
Like,
you're not. Okay.
yeah, like I just don't want you guys to think like I'm like crying or something. It's just my nose. Like,
Okay.
so it's like, it might be in like that moment, I might be mad and I might be like, fussy, but I will think about it after.
Yeah.
Like, I will think about it after, and like I will like talk to myself about it, or talk to somebody else about it after, and like see. So like, if that's what it is, like that's what it is. Like, you don't have to like, you know, tap dance around me, because at the same time, like, I'm from a culture, right? Like, the Canadian me is very prissy, but like my family's Jamaican. Like, my family will cuss me out if there's an issue, like, or the Jamaicans I'm around, they'll just cuss you out if there's an issue and just tell you straight up. So like,
Mhm.
I don't mind that type of confrontation. I'll be fussy, you know but i'll like I'll listen to it. So if like
Mhm.
that's what it is, just tell me, because like, you're not the first person I've heard this from, and I hear a lot of older people like saying this, but I just chopped it up to like, they're older, and more so they're like on their pro like quack stuff, kind of. So like, maybe that's why they think that. But like, you're like not like that. You're pretty level, like, headed. Like, you're not like on that pro quack stuff. And if you're saying it, and if other older people are saying it, then I do want to look at it, because then I don't want to carry subconscious feelings of anti-blackness, because then
Mhm.
that means like I don't think of like myself or my people in like the highest regard, like I should.
I have a question.
Sure.
Donna, why did you just said, and it's just me being curious, right? Why did you say you kind of had the mind frame that was just older black quackness?
Because a lot of like the older black people around me, like, they're like super like pro black, you know they'll be like, we was kangs, we was this, the white man taught us to kill, we didn't do any of like bad things ourselves. So like, for me, like, when I hear that, I'm just like, when I hear people like that, it's just like any type of critique about that, it just makes me kind of not want to listen to them, because like, I do admit like my own bias against that is like what makes me go like, no. Because like my grandma has like, talked to me, and she's like, I feel like, some of the things that you say, like, sweetheart, like, you probably don't realize it, are anti-black. But she has like a very pro-black mindset. So like, when she would say it, or like some of the elders in my church, I would kind of just brush it off, because it's like, yeah, anything to you that's not extreme pro-blackness seems like it's being anti-black. You know what I mean? So for me, I just like swept it off, like, ugh, it's just because I'm not extreme like you. But when I'm seeing more level-headed people saying it, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe there actually is some internalized anti-blackness that I don't realize, and it is a problem.
Okay.
So
I was just curious because, and I understand now that you've explained that, I understand that. I'm just wondering, and this is just me speaking out loud, you don't have to answer this. I'm just wondering, have you ever gotten to the point with yourself that you sat and understood that you needed to self reflect on some of your, thought processes or actions or whatnot? And like I say, you don't have to explain that, but I understand your side. I understand what you just explained because, yeah, a bunch of the shea butter, we was kangs like that would get on my nerves too. But like I said, I'm just wondering, how often do you think or, begin to just self reflect, just on yourself and things like that.
Well, it
Because it's
depends.
like I said, you don't have to answer. Like I said, I'm just speaking out loud because I think, there is a point, when some people are older, and all people don't do this, but there's a point when some people are older in which, when it's a bunch of different people telling you the same thing, then we know what the common denominator is, right? Especially if it's a bunch of people that you don't know and they're saying the same thing, then we know, like, okay, well, maybe I need to stop and think about that. So, like I said, it's nothing for you to answer. I'm just
No, it's
speaking
fine.
out
I want
loud.
I want to answer it. Like, yeah, like with the thing about like confrontation and quick to fight, I have been working on that. It's just it's hard because it's just the type of person I am. And I do try to listen more, but then again, like, it's hard because sometimes I hear something interesting and I will like want to have a conversation about it. Those things I have been like trying to work on. And like I know that internally. I just don't like admitting a character flaw to people because I don't want to be attacked for it. But that I've been working on. But the anti-blackness, like until today, I never really like thought about it. Like until like yesterday. Because for me it was just a lot of the older people in my life saying it, they were like super pro-black. So for me, I just immediately dismissed it. But like hearing it from people that are more so like, you know, like like Nyla has known me for a year, and like hearing it from people that aren't pro-black and like somewhat know me and think the same thing, yeah, I'm thinking about it, and it's like, okay, well, maybe I do have it subconsciously, in my brain. Because before I just never thought about it, because like I just I just dismissed like the pro black stuff. The other stuff about me, yeah, I do know, and it's like harder for me to change, but I'm getting better at like walking away from going back and forth with people, and I'm getting better at like listening slowly. It's not perfect, but the pro black stuff, until like yesterday, I honestly didn't think about it. I just used to dismiss it.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. Like I said, it wasn't, I was kind of just asking rhetorically, just out loud, because I do understand what it's like when people say things and just like, damn, like, ouch, like that. Sometimes we don't see the things in ourselves that other people see. So I am really glad, as a person that speaks about, things from the spiritual side, including like that accountability, that shadow work, things like that. I am, this conversation today between you and Nyla was something that probably needed to be had, just speaking about, like the topic in general, the Saturn and Pisces, the things changing that need to be changed, the light switch being turned on. And I think it was a conversation that needed to be had. Um, so that, everyone can get something out of it. Um, we're all human, and I just ask that you be gentle with yourself and just know that you are not the only person on this planet that may need to take a step back and think about things, right? And I'm actually happy and proud of you for actually, having a conversation and just, just really just being here in the moment and having that conversation, because everybody can't do it. And some people run from it, and you did not run from it.
No,
So
because
I'm going to give you your flowers for that, while you're here, because I completely understand that. So, I mean, just we're all works in progress, even those of us who are older, younger, whatever the age range in between. We're all here to learn and to grow. And I'm just proud of the conversation. And proud of you for just being open to it. So, like I said, we're all working on ourselves.
Yeah, for me, I didn't want to run from it. Like, I genuinely wanted to ask, like, why she felt that way. Because I don't want to make, like, anybody in the chat feel like, I hate on Black Americans, or I hate on anybody. Like, I just don't want to make anybody feel that way, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that way either. Because I feel like if I have, like, internal anti-Blackness for one group, then that will manifest into myself and how I see my own group and other people.
Right.
So I just don't want to, like, walk around in my life like that. So, like, genuinely, like, I wanted to ask, and I didn't want to make it seem like, oh, I only come here and I talk about Black American, Black American, Black American, but I don't talk about, like, my own people or my own group. Like, I very much do. Like, even when I hear, like, like, people be like, oh, but Caribbeans and, like, Jamaicans and Africans, they all come here and they do better. I'm like, well, no, but the people that come here, they have money, they have this, they have that. Like, I'm against that type of thing. So, like, the anti, like, Blackness, like, yeah, that's something I'm gonna, like, sit down with for a while and see, like, if that's there. The other stuff about me being confrontational that I've worked on, I see it in, like, my real life too, and I've been better at walking away from, like, disagreements and conversations and feeling like, I have to get my point across in a way that a person will understand. I've gotten better at that, like, in the chat box too, which I'm proud of myself. Now I want to get to the point where I stop doing it completely, but I don't know if that's gonna happen at, like, my young age. But I'm getting there.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Like I said, I'm proud of the conversation, and sometimes things come up and just need to be, you know, um, worked on, even if it's spur of the moment, like this conversation. And like I said, I'm glad that you two had a good dialogue and both of you were able to give, the other person in the conversation a space to explain themselves and, listen and, all the good things like that.
Yeah, it's something I'm gonna work on, and especially, like, the manipulative part, because I don't try to purposely manipulate people, but maybe it's because, like, I probably come off because I know, like, I try to please people a bit too much with what I say. And, I try to look like I don't have a flaw or there's nothing that you could break down in, like, what I say or what I do. So I'm gonna, like, work on, like, not necessarily just being more careless with my words, but trying not to come off as so, like, manipulative, right? Like, I'm trying to, like, manipulate every, like, aspect of a conversation, because that probably does come from, like, one, my willingness to please, two, um probably, like, because I don't like having, like, confrontation all the time. So sometimes I do manipulate my speech in ways that I know other people like to hear it. And three, like, sometimes I just don't want to be, like, like, questioned on some things, because, like, I really, like, again, just don't like confrontation or argumentation in the sense of, like, back and forth. So, like, that's something I'm probably gonna look at too, because I've never realized until, like, today I come off as, like, manipulative. But, like, I'm gonna change that because I do always think, like, okay, how can I say something that, you know it looks the most good, it's the most, like, people pleasing, it's the most this, it's the most that, you know it sounds like it's something intelligent to add, it's something like this, so that's something I'm gonna work on, because I don't want to sound manipulative in, like, conversation. And that is probably something I like subconsciously do.
Yeah, we all have things to work on, and just know that, and I can't speak for anyone else's space, but if you're here in my space, I'm not going to allow, I'm gonna give you the space and the platform to, explain yourself, things like that. I'm not going to, just jump in or pile all in, or, things like that. So because I remember you saying, you feel like, you don't want to be attacked, right? And just like Nyla's grown woman vibes, I'm very adult as far as like what, just the energetics around my platform, and not attacking. Like I would not attack you. I would ask questions and have a conversation. So I can't speak for the rest of the world, but here, we're not going to attack you.
Yeah, it was just like yesterday, like, because I got like Tad John's point of view, like the more we started to talk, the more I started to kind of get it, but I only like understood it like completely today. But it was like when Afro kept going like, "Oh, you're just anti-black and that's why black," it just made me like she was probably trying to have this like very same conversation, but because of what him and like the other like people kept saying, I was just like I just wasn't receptive to it. Because I was like, "Oh, here it goes again. Another person trying to tell me I'm anti-black." And I'm like, "But I'm not anti-black because I like being black and I like my black culture and I like my black self." So, for me because of the way how other people articulated it, it probably came off like, it just made me like shut down and like I'm like, "Okay, I don't even want to listen to this now." But that's something like I'm going to be working on.
Yeah, yeah, I got you. I got you. So like I said, just know this is a safe space here, and I know Nyla's is too, for adult conversation. So
Cuz I remember like even when I used to get with like in it with older people in the chat, it was like, "You're anti." I'm like, "Okay, I'm done." Like I'm not even trying to listen, but that's something I'm going to be like learning to do, like listen to the critique more.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's we all grow, and we all grow and work on ourselves. Well, at least most people should be. So and I've had to learn and grow myself. Sometimes people will tell me things and I'm just like, I didn't want to hear it. But then I just had to like, okay, if multiple people are saying this, let me step back and truly,
Yeah,
truly,
like
truly listen, truly, truly process what they're saying, why they're saying it, so I can understand and then look at myself and like, okay, we can do better. Right. So
yeah, like I remember there's one particular person in the chat, like we just like stopped talking because I was just like, we just agreed to, I guess, disagree. We just left each other alone. But I remember we used to always get into it because I felt like, now looking back, everything probably wasn't an attack, but I just felt like everything was an attack. Everything was a criticism. And then the first thing they would be like is your age, your age. And I'm like, okay, like I'm like pretty intelligent for my age. Like I know that. Like, you know, I can articulate myself really well for my age, and like, I wouldn't say I'm smart as in like wisdom and like, street things, but I do like put myself to Google a lot and try to be intelligent in like, what I know, in terms of like just raw information. I know I may not always apply it correctly, or I may apply it but like it might be out of context or there's nuance. But for me, like just the second I would hear my age, it'd just be like, Shh. But it's something I'm gonna like try to be more receptive to. Cause when like to me it feels condescending and it's probably not that way, but for me it just feels like, oh, so you're looking down at me because of my age.
right. I got it. I get you. And I get you because even as someone that's 40 And, I have to interact with people older than me, at times, people who are like my mother's age. My mother is in her 60s, almost 70. You know, I understand how some things from older people can come off as condescending, oh, or you're a know-it-all, or you just don't want to hear it. Right. So I completely get it. I get it. So
Yeah. And it's
Kev,
something
you're
I'm
here
gonna
whenever you're
Hey,
ready,
what's
Kev.
up, everybody?
Hey,
Hi.
Kev.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt the moment. And that's actually part of the reason why I wanted to come up, because I saw, like, everything that you were talking about, embracing change and stuff like that. Like, all of that was coming up, just within this conversation alone. So I thought that was a really good example of everything that you were talking about when earlier in the stream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny how that happened, right, Kev?
Right. Like it's like perfection. Like it was like the cherry on top to everything.
Yeah, like I said, it's funny how things come about, and that's why I said, maybe although we talked about some things earlier in the stream, this is probably what today's stream was for, just conversations among different people, but just in that type of energy, because it's okay to review things and understand that things need to change. And, like I said, just flipping that light switch, right? And seeing what's okay and what's not okay, right? So we can move forward. So this is probably the real reason why we have this stream today. And I'm here for it if it means adult dialogue and conversation, and that someone can get something out of it, right? So,
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
wanted to address something in the chat. Like, that's something I'm gonna stop doing, framing my like age as an excuse, whether it's purposefully or like unpurposely done. Like, that's it. And I'm gonna like, yeah, like I'm just gonna stop doing that, because a lot of the times, like, my age is being used as an excuse, whether it's consciously or subconsciously being done. But like sometimes I'd be like, oh, it's my age, because like that's my opinion for like my age or my age group. And like sometimes, like, yeah, it is like, like a, oh, like, y'all ragging on me, but my age. Either way, it like comes off as an excuse, and I'm gonna like just like stop doing it because I don't want it to come off that way.
Mm.
And like what Renaissance Woman is saying, I will like do more like research and like actual learning about African American culture, because that's something that like, to be honest, like, I didn't really take much time to learn about like Black culture in general. Like, if I did not like grow up the little bit in the Jamaican home that I grew up in for like the short period of time, I probably wouldn't have learned anything about that either. So like, again, like, if I have internalized anti-Blackness, that's something I'm really going to address, because maybe I do, because I've always just been like, white friends, white culture, the super white things, all the white influencers, all the white this, all the white that, white, 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 white. So, you know, maybe I do have a problem there, and
Well,
maybe like
like I was
I give enough of a damn about Blackness.
well, I was saying earlier in the chat, like, when we are, we have our experience and stuff, we don't really recognize like how we may have like certain biases and the experiences that we have that cause us to have, blind spots. Even no matter how intelligent or smart or how exposed to certain things we are, you know, those blind spots can really have an impact, based on what you haven't been exposed to, and you internalize those things without even recognizing it. So that's why I say, like, I think that having this conversation really works out well, because at least now you're aware of it, so that way you can start doing what you can about that.
Yeah, it's something I really do have to think about because, you know, maybe because I'm starting to think now, like maybe it's that I just have been like subconsciously so infatuated like with what's like whiteness because like I was submerged in it and then just kept submerging myself into it. Because like to be honest, until I like, got on the internet and even being in some of these conversations, like unless it was like really big people like Beyonce, Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, unless it was big people like that, I didn't know who most like
Mhm.
black celebrities were and what they did. I might have known them in passing, but like, like that wasn't like the person that I was like, super into and knowing. I was always like, oh, Gigi Hadid and Bella Hadid and, all these little like, white kids. Like I knew who all of them were, what they did, like their whole career from start to finish. When it came like to like European stuff, I was like super like into it, barely knew anything. So maybe like, I used to hear from people like, oh, there's like a subconscious bias, but I always just wrote it off like, because it came from older, like super, super pro black people. So I always just wrote it off like, okay, like, you know, you're doing a lot, you're, it's a lot. It's too much. It's, you know, for you, it's like if it's not extreme pro blackness, like kind of like what Afro was doing yesterday. So many people have like tried to do that to me and I just knocked it off. But like hearing it from people that are not that way, maybe there is something there.
Yeah, I don't blame you for feeling the way that you do after that guy. But um yeah, I feel that same way, because I noticed that, you were talking about how when it comes to older people, they kind of have that type of similar mentality, like that. I understand that. So now that you know that you're in the company of people that you have been, cool with for some time, now they're bringing that up. So now it's like, okay, maybe this is the time to really start confronting that. Like going back to what Q was saying earlier about, this being the time when, or the period of, you know, change and stuff. Maybe this is something that maybe, useful for you.
Yeah, I do think like that's probably something I just do need to like unlearn, because maybe there is a bias there. You know, I've always like dated white people, been friends with white people, been around white people, work with white people. Hell, I even speak like, white lingo and jargon, right? And like almost everything about like white history, European history, like I was like super obsessed with and I would know like, oh, about this, that, and the third. And then like as I got older, when it came to like black culture, the only thing that let me know a little bit about it, to be honest, is that my parents were Jamaican. Because otherwise I didn't gravitate towards that. I didn't go to that. You know what I mean? So maybe there is like some type of like subconscious bias with all of that, and it just seeps into many things in my life that I don't realize it seeps into.
And then to add to what you were saying about the people, you say you called yourself a people pleaser, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to the world of Libras. That's that's that. If there's anybody who's a people pleasing sign, that is Libra. So that's just part of just what you got to deal with, what you got to confront. Because I have to do that as well.
Yeah.
Um,
And then I live in
so
society too, like in Canada, like very people pleasing people, especially in like Montreal, right? Very people pleasing, very much wanting to make, very much trying to like, very much trying to please people, You know what I mean? And like maybe like subconsciously I did morph into that because, you know, in the early 2000s, right? You know, black culture was seen as like very like threatening, you know, to white Canadians and white, you know, people. And the thing is, when you come here, it's like they very much want you to integrate, and be like them, be like them, be like them. So maybe subconsciously, you know, I took a lot of that in and like, you know, it's be like them, be like them, be like them.
Hmm. That happens. I mean, like I have to like for me, I that's a similar thing too with my own life. So I understand what that is. So again, that's part of that inner work that you have to really start digging deep and see, like, how that's going to end up making you change your perspective on a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, it probably does seep in because like even with the comment, I didn't mean it that way, but I see how it comes across, like how yesterday came across, like I just see white actors as better because they're white.
Yeah. So I just wanted to come in. I just felt the need to give my little 2 cents on everything. This live was great in my opinion. I think that it showcased everything that Q was talking about, and it exemplified it. And I think that's also a sign for me, like this is something to really, be involved in, and doing a better job with change as well. Because like I said earlier in the chat, I'm in the middle of a fast. I'm in a fasting period this entire month. So I started yesterday. Ended on the 31st. Um, so basically, I just have like this long. It's like I think it's just 12 hours of no food, and then I have a meal after I break the fast, and then just water until the next day. So that's what I've been doing, and that not even knowing that this live was going to be talking about all those things. So it's really in tune. It's right in line.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. I think from now I'm gonna be trying to submerge myself into just black culture, and I'm just gonna like, you know, give like panels a break for a while. But I'm genuinely gonna try to submerge myself in black culture because, like, you know, even during this conversation, just thinking about it, I realized like like I've genuinely never made an effort to try to learn black culture.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I thought about that. Like it's kind of bad that like before I can name you every country in Europe, I can name you the differences of that culture and this culture, and you know I could tell you about white culture in Alberta and white lingo, and you know, oh my gosh, and that 70s show was super relatable to me because you know how I grew up and what we were doing hanging out and what they was doing hanging out. But you know, things of black culture and what black people were doing, it was just not relatable to me. And I didn't try to, looking back now I realize I didn't really try to make an effort to learn about anything black unless it was taught to me.
I know for me, like personally, I had started talking about doing more. I remember I was looking into Mahalia Jackson because I just liked her voice, and it really dawned on me like how growing up in a Christian home, you know more about Jesus, and you know about everything from Genesis to Revelation more than you know about Black history. So
Yeah.
it made me want to, because I think a lot of people, maybe even here in the chat or other Black people would haven't understand what I'm talking about there. Um, so you end up realizing that your whole history is more aligned with being among a religion or in Christianity than you even are connected with, the people who are from your own lineage and culture. And so for me, I understand that as well. Or like looking at Jeopardy, for example, and seeing how there are people there that can answer certain questions about people Black people who have been influential in history that you couldn't answer because you've never been taught that. You know, like I said, you know more about Abraham, you know more about David, you know more about Jesus, you know more about Paul,
And
and you know,
Socrates and all those people. And I
right?
never.
But like but like, you know, like the people that you're like really close to, like you don't really know about them. So, you know, I've been wanting to take some time to, you know, do the same thing. So I understand how you feel about that.
Yeah, because it's just like sucky that, like, people think like I'm, anti-black or trying to be like purposefully insensitive, and it's like sucky to like to know that like that possibly could be there. Because for me it was
Yeah.
always like even when I'm thinking about it right now, right? Like, I remember once somebody like asked me this question, and it like raised such alarm bells in their head. And for me, I didn't like really see what the problem was. Right. And they just asked me a whole bunch of questions of how I feel about myself. But I really didn't get it at the time. But like now I'm thinking that's something I should probably examine too. I remember once like I was asked like, oh, like who's like the most like, prettiest woman in the world, like, to you. And I was like, oh my God, Gigi Hadid and Bella Hadid, the Hadid sisters are so pretty and they're all that. And like, the Hadids. And I remember it was like me and another black girl, and they were just asking us like, oh, like all these celebrities, me and my group of friends, right? All these celebrities who we think are pretty. And it was like this older black person. And we just kept naming like all like these, white models and, you know, white girls. And we were like Gigi Hadid, Bella Hadid, you know, and like they would like name like, oh, what about this black person? And we'd be like, oh yeah, she's all right or whatever. Or we'd be like, oh, but we don't think like, she's prettier than her. We'd be like, oh well, they did like a paper or whatever, and they said like, Bella's the most like beautiful woman in the world, and blase blase blase. And I remember like in that conversation, like nobody black came to my mind for like that particular conversation. I was thinking like Gigi, Bella, you know, like, Kim Kardashian. I thought of like everybody else but that, because that just didn't pop up to my head.
You know what it reminds me of, the way that you say that? It reminds me of that whole, it was kind of similar, but it's not quite the same. But it reminds me of, the doll test, right? You know
Yeah.
how they have the white doll that say like, like this is who you think is the prettiest one, or versus, what do you think about the black one? It almost kind of sounds like the kind of similar indoctrination type of thing there. Maybe, I'm not sure because I'm not of that culture, or I don't know what you may have really gone through to be at this point, but it almost kind of
And see,
sounds
like,
a bit similar.
maybe I do have like that biased in my head, right? Because for us, like, those were all the people that we like thought about. Cause cause I have like two black female friends. One is like me, like we're like two peas in a pod, and then the other one, you know, she's not like, completely like super like pro black into the black culture, but she's like more into like black celebrities and like black stars, right?
Mhm.
And like we became friends like not too long ago. It's been like a few months. And I remember in that conversation nobody black came up until she brought up Naomi Campbell. But like for me and my
Yeah.
other black friend that we've been friends for so long, it was like Gigi Hadid, Bella Hadid, you know, Kate this, all like these supermodels and like white female celebrities. It was Selena Gomez, Ariana Grande, da 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 da. We didn't think once about them. So like maybe there is just some type of subconscious bias that I do have that I do need to think about. Because I remember that older Black person that like was hearing the conversation and was asking like the two of us particularly, they would be like, well, what about this Black person? What about that Black person? And either we wouldn't know much about them or we wouldn't know who they were talking about. Right, because I'll be honest too, if it's not like a super big A-list international Black celebrity, I probably don't know them either. You know what I mean? And they would be like, and I remember they kept asking like me and my other friend, they'd be like, well, how do you guys feel about being Black, and how do you feel about being Blackness and how you look? And I'm like, I feel like I look fine. Like, I don't think that has anything to do with like this, but maybe there is some type of like connection there.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, like I said, that's worth investigating and figuring out. Um, I had brought up it reminded me of the doll test, because that shows that maybe like there's would obviously be maybe it's like some type of conditioning or some type of indoctrination that may be in place. And again, when you were talking about the people pleasing and stuff, which is why I also think that you should be mindful, and even more mindful of being gentle with yourself about how you want to go about it. Maybe gentle may not be a word, but at least more aware about how you treat yourself and be more cognizant. Because if it is a conditioning, and if it is something that you have just now coming into the awareness to, just talking about it, then that means that it may not necessarily be of your own behavior that is causing you to do this, or at least consciously. There may be stuff that's
Yeah.
taught to you that is bringing this up. So you need to actually figure out where that conditioning has started from, and then start really working your way towards undoing it without making yourself feel as if you're culpable.
Yeah, it's probably something I do need to work on. Because for me, maybe it is there in some way. Because for me, it was always like, well, I was taught I was pretty, and I don't necessarily think I'm ugly because I'm Black, or I'm less than. But when it comes to like beauty, like I don't say it because I don't want to be. I've never said it because I don't want to be judged, like like online and stuff by like random people. But like I do think like Black is pretty, but I did notice like as a kid especially, I would just gravitate towards white more. Because I had Black dolls and I had white dolls as a kid, but I would gravitate more towards the white doll.
Mm.
But I don't think like being Black is ugly, or like I would want to change being like Black either. At least consciously I don't think that. You know what I
Right.
mean? But like
Sometimes, like when you have those types of thoughts, it may not come across, that way. Like if you actually have a pretty good self-esteem about yourself, so it may not come across in that fashion, but it may come across in a way that you may interact with other Black people that you're just not coming to the awareness of it, so you don't really know how deep it may go. So like you may find out how it may cause you to think about how you may interact with other Black people, or even perhaps other Black women in particular. Like you just don't know. Um, so that's just my thoughts on that.
yeah, and I think maybe like it did come across that way with like the actors, because I saw like everybody getting like super offended, and like I probably subconsciously maybe like don't appreciate Black culture as much as I probably should. I don't know if it's because I just default like it's my culture, whatever, or I'm like less interested in it. Because even like for like when like Taz was asking me, don't you like real movies? And it's like I do, but like low key, like I've never been interested in a real movie like most of the time with a Black person in it. I probably don't watch, or I'm like, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
for me, like I watched Malcolm X in school, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, because like we learn about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. So like I've watched those movies in school, and it was like, oh, okay. It taught us this, and if we had to write a paper on it, you know, it was quite a basic. Like I would just write about it on like, you know, this is what happened during the time. This is what happened during the time. This is what happened, and this is how they felt. And whenever they would try to ask me, okay, but like, what do you personally feel about it? Like, what do you feel deeper? Like, what did it evoke in you? Like, as a Black person, this, as a Black person, that. I'm just like, I mean, I understood the context of the time and racism in Canada, in America, and da da da. But I remember every time, like, because like my English teacher was white, she'd try to ask me like, what do you feel about it? Like, deeper. I
That's
genuinely
honest.
like couldn't go
You don't feel
deeper.
like she may have pointed you out because you may have been Black, or you may have felt like some type of connection because you're a Black person.
Yeah, like she was expecting me to like feel that type of connection, and like low key
Mm.
we didn't. But in the class that I was in, like none of the other Black kids in my class felt that way either. Like I just didn't have a deeper connection. But I remember when I saw like some other historical movie like about like a white character, and she was like, "Oh, how do you feel on a deeper level?" And like I had like all these feelings and all these emotions and da da da. And she was like, and she just said like she just found it like very strange, because she said, I would have thought like y'all would have had more of a connection to like the Malcolm X struggle, or that feeling, or like had more of a strong opinion about it. And for me, I really didn't take it as like anything. But again, I'm starting to think like maybe I do have a stronger attachment to like white history and white characters for whatever reason.
I don't think that was right for her to do that, though. I don't think that was her place as a teacher, to make you feel as if you're supposed to have some type of connection like that. I mean, like I understand, like, being able to um, educate and being able to give the facts as they should, but that wasn't her place to try to make you to feel as if you were supposed to have a connection, or to try to make you feel guilty into having one. That wasn't her role to do. Like that's the type of stuff that leads to a conditioning.
Yeah, probably. But I remember like as a kid, like people would try to point it out, and I would just feel like super offended. But too, like I grew up around a time too where like people were very colorist. Like I mean, if you look at the beauty trend that's going on in like Jamaica, or like Jamaican culture right now, it's the cool look. And the cool look is all about being light skinned and having like certain features.
Hmm.
And like now, because like I more so understand colorism and talk about it, I understand why it's a problem, but back then that wasn't a problem to me. Like even for me, like when people would go like, oh, skin bleaching, I would be like, okay, but what's the problem? It's like getting a BBL. It's like getting a nose job. It's like getting this. Like, what makes it any different?
Hmm.
So that
Oh,
is
yeah.
something like that is
So there's a
something I kind
lot
of
there's a lot
examine.
to explore there. So that's like there is that dynamic, and then you have your I think you're from a culture, like the Jamaican culture, where they have that, like, pretty much everywhere in that country, right? Like Jamaica.
Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
pretty normal. People bleach. There's a lot of people like on my dad's side, because most of my mom's side of the family is light skinned, but on my dad's side a lot of people like bleach. I remember as like a kid I used to bleach, so I never thought it was strange until I got older and people were like, yeah, that's not normal, that denotes anti-blackness and like all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
remember like,
there is a conditioning that's there too, that helps to create this particular paradigm that you may be trying to challenge. So you have it from a white side, where you're supposed to be able to feel some type of connection to some historical event. You're being pushed and forced to feel that way. And I think along with maybe things that are in the white society because it was dominant. Then you have, the culture that you come from, which seems to be heavily indoctrinated with colorism and the need to, um,
And
uplift things that have lighter skin, which is basically saying the whiter the better. I think both of those things play a role, and I think that's one of those things those are a couple of things we may need to start challenging.
because I remember like as a kid, like growing up, right, I was always told like you're by both like white Canadians and like black Canadians, like like the Scotians and stuff, like not like immigrants that like come here, like black Canadians. They like both sides would always tell me like you're Canadian, you need to act like it. You're Canadian, you need to act like it. Right?
Hmm. Now, what did
Because
that say to you? What did that imply to you as somebody who is from Jamaican parents being taught that you need to be Canadian? By the way, Kia, I see your comment saying that it's not everywhere. It's just in certain parts of Jamaica. I apologize for the misconception or what I said that was misinformation. So back to you, Donna.
for me it felt like, because when I look around at Canada, especially when I was younger at the time, who was in power, who was on my TV in our like Canadian shows, who I see on the everyday, who for me it meant like I need to be like the dominant people in the society. I need to be like them.
Mm,
That's what
another
it felt like to
conditioning.
me.
Or at least that's how you interpret it, or at least that's how how you internalize that. So that
Yeah.
could also be something to challenge too. Like there's like you have multiple things that show you, again, going back to what Q was saying in the common, where say like the subconscious is the shadows, the shadow work. That may be that shadow work that maybe has to start being challenged and having to come, that needs to come to light.
Yeah, like for me it was always like that. And then like my mom's side of the family is not colorist, but they don't well, not all of them understand colorism, right? Like my mom didn't really get it until she had like dark daughters. You know what I mean?
Mm,
A lot of that older generation like didn't get it, or they didn't understand it. And then for me being the only dark one growing up, I low key like felt kind of out of place for a while, because even my brother like has the complexion of like a Caucasian person, right? So for
mm,
me it was always like I felt like, you know, I was out of place. Not that they did anything indirectly to make like they never did anything directly to make me feel out of place. I just felt like, oh, you have to be a Canadian, you have to be a Canadian. So for me, it was about being like, a Canadian. And for me at that time, that meant whiteness, because they were the sample of the Canadian ideal, the Canadian culture, the Canadian like this, that, and the third. Like the only things that I did like that were black was like, eating my food, speaking my language, like some things that I keep from my Jamaican maroon culture, but everything else, my socialization, and that it was very much, being told like be white.
mm.
Because I remember even some like older Jamaican people, some of them would be like, but you're not a Jamaican girl, you're a Canadian girl. So for me, I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? And that meant the people who I saw in society.
Bingo. Yeah. So that's something that's something to really take time to think about. Like just all that you just explained right there. Have you ever really talked about it from that standpoint before?
And no, not really. Because like that's the thing too, like Canada, we're like big on integration, right? When you come here, they want you to integrate, they want you to take up like their culture and their ideals. So for me, I just saw it as like I'm a Canadian integrating, right? And I'm born Canadian. So like that was my culture. I never took it like, you know, it could be deeper than what it was.
Mm, yeah. So I think that's everything I wanted to say. I came in and turned into Mr. Therapist. That was not my intention coming up here. I would just really wanted to give a shout out to Q. But I think that, just, if you really want to try to challenge that, like the best way to really do that with everything you just shared is to challenge everything about the conditioning aspect, being made to choose whether or not you're Canadian or Jamaican. Like you shouldn't have to choose that because you're both of those things. Find a way to honor both of those things. I mean, like, well, you're a Canadian citizen, but you're Jamaican too. So there's that, and all the stuff that has that colorism aspect. Make sure that you challenge those things as well, so that way that it's not keeping you from interfering with um, Black people, particularly Black American people, because I understand that there is the perception and the image that you've seen, but make sure that that's not that is actually like you talking and not your condition circumstances based on family and environment.
Yeah, I'm going to work. I'm going to work on that because like I'm going to work on that because low key I always felt like growing up in Canada, anytime you were reminded like that you were black, it was always for something negative, like by both black and white people. It was never something positive. You know what I mean?
Mm,
It was always like,
yeah,
oh, people are going to be mean to you because you're black. People are going to be this because you're black. People are going to look down on you for this because you're black. People are going to think you're dumb because you're black. It was always everything negative, like by both like black and white people who like try to like instill racial pride in like black children.
which is
Like
odd.
it was always be because something negative because you're black, so don't be that.
That's the common thing that that even here that we hear that it's the common thing. This is the same people who want to try to um, instill some sense of pride, or even be in movies that instill pride at the same time have to hide their their blackness, quote unquote blackness, parts of themselves, so that way that they can fit in. It's crazy. It's even crazy that this is an ideology that people really believe in. But again, I think there's a lot of stuff that people just don't challenge.
Yeah, and I think I'm realizing just now after saying that, I think that's why there's a lot of types of black movies that I didn't like because watching them in school it was always they're being treated this way because they're black. It's like this because of their culture. It's like this because they're black. And like it's hard for me to get into a lot of like black movies because I just don't want to see that every day in media, right?
Hmm.
And that's why for me a lot of like black shows and movies like I would either just ignore or I didn't even know they exist or didn't even want to watch them because I didn't want to see, oh, because I'm black, this is why, because I'm black. Like the black movies that we would see in school, it was always, oh, because they're black, that's why they're, this is why this, because they're black. And it was always something negative, and it was always don't be like them. So for me, as I'm having this conversation, I realize I'm probably internalized this as a child because they're black. That's why they're like this. So don't be like this.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I stay away from certain movies, and I stay away from like a lot of like the conversations, because a lot of those conversations have that energy of just because you're black, or things that people may perceive of you because you're black. And yeah, that does um infiltrate into the psyche and into the subconscious mind. So, well, and now Q's saying she's about to end the chat or in the stream. So, thank you for taking the time to share that with us. And I think that this again is another wonderful example of the great eclectic tarot, aka Q, showing us where I think highlighting too, since we're all up here, because this is not a usual thing that happens. I think it's highlighting something that we can all work on, which is whatever we need to do to make sure that we're better and we're following up with change. So again, thank you, Q, for allowing me to come up here. Thank you, Donna, for sharing your thoughts. Especially with Nyla talking to you, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and get off. Thank you all, and I hope that you all have a wonderful evening.
All right, everyone. Thanks, Donna. Thanks, Kev. I know Nyla's not here. We know oftentimes how these streams start off with one topic and then, we'll go left or right. But it's usually because, sometimes things just, need to be talked about, right? And I think that was just like Kevin said, aligning with, just overall the topics for today, especially from the spiritual side of things that, change is a constant. And sometimes we have to really take a look at things, especially when that light switch is flipped, when the wool is removed from our eyes, when we really see that things have to change, especially when the foundations are weak, shaky, should be reinforced, things like that. And yeah, I'll never stop a stream if the energy flow is good and the conversation is just real and respectful and there's a great discourse happening, right? And again, I really thank you, Donna, for just being here because you know the conversation kind of switched to um I guess some points from last night. I wasn't on last night's stream with Taz. I was in bed. So I don't know the different things that were talked about, like as far as actors or acting. I'm kind of hearing about it for the first time. But, I know that sometimes it feels like you're in a vulnerable place and you've been discussing this here publicly. So I will give you, that grace and, your flowers and applaud you from being here and, just having a really good conversation. Right. So,
Well, I thank you for that, and I'm just glad I got the opportunity to like talk about it because I don't want people to feel like, you know, I feel like one is better because that, or like I'm trying to like position myself as better because I'm not this, or
right.
I have disdain. Because to me, when I just hear the word disdain, it feels like I feel like I'm better than. Like that's automatically where my brain goes. Because like to me, that's the next step from disdain, and I just don't have those feelings. And it's like like I don't want like people to feel like like I'm just some like hateful like troll or whatever, or I'm intentionally being disrespectful. And I'm just glad I got to talk about it like with Nyla like peacefully, you know, as opposed to like yesterday when everyone was defensive and I would have like been really upset about somebody just calling me anti-black, you know. And
Yeah.
like, like I'm glad to know like, it came out. Some people, don't like me, don't like what I have to say. Some things I said were wrong and offended some people, and made people not like me. Some things, that I do come off as manipulative and, all these other things. And I'm just glad like, everybody was able to put everything where it needs to be with how they feel so that like, I could do the adjustments accordingly, and that so like I know how to move accordingly.
Yeah. We're all works in process, like literally, like all of us, myself included, right? So, just now it's just time for all of us, to self-reflect, change and grow. We can change if we want to, right? So yeah, thank you for that, Donna. I'm going to move you down so I can go ahead and start to close out the stream.
Okay, bye, Q.
All right, later, girl. Yeah, so, that was great. We kind of veered off, but I think the reasons why, and it's so funny because a lot of times when people have readings with me, this is how the readings go. We'll start on something, and then spirit will be like, I just need to tell you this. And then we'll go off on some other tangent because it's probably something that someone needs to hear, right? And I think this was, a mirror of how my readings go. But thanks everyone for being here. We are in July right now. And I don't know if y'all see my little ticker at the bottom, but we're literally about a month out from the 12-week tarot course that's going to be led by me. Right. I didn't think it would start to arrive that quick, but it's coming. Time is moving, right? So that tarot class is starting August 7th. Now we are in the process of moving. If anything changes or if I have to shift the day that the class will be on, I will. But if you really want to join this tarot course, please do. If you like a payment plan, that's completely fine. Already have one set up with someone. That's cool. If you have been a client of mine in the past, a reading or something like that, reach out to me. I will give you a special price on it, right? So yeah, don't forget, because this is going to be the only other class I'm going to do for the rest of this year is this tarot course, because it's going to be 12 weeks. It's going to make me tired, and I'm going to be like, why did I do this? Because I'm going to be tired. But, I really do want to share and offer my knowledge to you all. So you can reach out to me, all that good stuff. And yeah, so thanks for being here. I really appreciate you all. I'm not a big YouTuber. I'm just a little old me. I'm a little old cute. But I do appreciate the family aspect that we have over here, respecting each other, growing, having fun, the laughs, the jokes, yeah. So Wednesday, we're going to have the answering your questions tarot reading. Fun times like we normally would do on a Wednesday. Last Wednesday, it was just too much going on. I tried to reschedule for Thursday. Too much going on Thursday. Yeah. I'll be back answering your questions live here on Wednesday this week. And that's it. That's all. Join my Patreon for the good information. Yeah. The good spiritual information and the teaching and the knowledge. Join my Patreon. I appreciate my patrons that are there. And that's about it. I am going to go. I have to see if Mr. Hoodoo made those green beans or not, because he made lamb earlier today. He made lamb chops earlier today. So I have to see if he completed dinner with the vegetable, because we're cutting back on carbs. Right. Oh, because remember, I don't know if you all remember, in June, at the beginning of June, I was just like, I'm doing this. I'm focusing on this. Yeah, so I'm down like 7 pounds from June, focusing and just doing the work, right? So yeah, that's it. That's all. I love y'all. See y'all around. Y'all know how to contact me. And that's it. I love y'all. Later. Bye.